Why should I make food for you? You're not family to me. I don't even consider you family. Don't get too comfortable here. Why are you even in this house? I invited my son and granddaughter to visit so I could spend time with my family. Can you give us some space? The room felt awkward in my parents-in-law's house. My mother-in-law, who I tried to avoid whenever we met, was a huge problem for me. But one day, Mommy, oh my God, it's Grandma. What happened? I felt terrified and my heart was racing. My daughter told me what had happened. My name is Victoria. I married Jerry when I was 25 and had my daughter Olivia when I was 29. I stopped working and became a housewife after getting married. Now I'm 39 and my small family of 3 lives in a rented apartment. Life is good, but there's one big issue. Jerry's mom, Judy. She's always been a headache. She makes me miserable. She told me she doesn't accept me as part of the family. While she didn't directly oppose our marriage, she has been rude to me from the start. She used to show up without warning, get into my house, and complain about my cleaning and cooking. Before I was pregnant with Olivia, she made unreasonable demands like wanting me to have a boy. She even gave me her old clothes and said, "They will look good on you." Once, she even sent me rotten vegetables without asking. In short, she's done everything to make me feel bad. What keeps me going is that Jerry and Olivia always support me. When Judy and I fight, Jerry steps in. Olivia even tells her, "I don't like it when you say bad things about my mom." Whenever I visit my in-laws, Judy makes snarky comments about me, even in front of Brian, Jerry's dad. Brian tells her off, but she doesn't care and keeps treating me badly like it's normal. One day, Olivia came home from school looking sad. Usually, she greets me with a big "Mom, I'm home." But today, she was quiet. "Sweetie, you're home. What's wrong? Are you okay? Are you sick?" "Nothing, Mom. I'm fine." She tried to brush it off, but I could tell something was wrong. She kept looking deep in thought. Even though she smiled later, I knew something bothered her. I didn't want to pressure her, but I couldn't just ignore it. That night, Jerry had to work late, so it was just the 2 of us for dinner. I thought she might open up then. As she ate her mac and cheese slowly, I started talking to her. "I'm worried about you. When you say you're fine, it's not always true. I won't tell anyone, and I won't get angry. I'm always on your side. Can you tell me what happened?" She put her fork down and stayed quiet for a while. Then she decided to tell me what happened. She explained it as best as a 10-year-old could. She had gone to play at a friend's house after school, just 15 minutes away. The friend's mom usually drove her back home. On the way back, when the car stopped at a red light, she saw Judy with a man she didn't know. She even saw them kissing. As soon as Olivia realized it was her grandmother, she ducked down to avoid being seen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The idea of Judy being affectionate with another man, so close to where we live, was shocking. It must have been really upsetting for a 10-year-old to see something like that. It seemed like Judy was involved in something inappropriate. To comfort Olivia, I went to the local store and bought her favorite ice cream. Normally, I wouldn't give her sweets before bed, but today was different. She had been feeling down for a while, but she seemed a little better after having the ice cream. By the time she finished, she seemed almost back to normal. Still, I knew her heart was hurt. I decided to keep an eye on her for a while. Later, Jerry came home from work, tired, just half an hour after Olivia went to sleep. I didn't want to tell him about his mother's affair, but I couldn't keep it from him. I told him exactly what Olivia had said. Jerry had been relaxing in the living room, but when he heard what happened, he covered his mouth with his hand and quickly walked to the kitchen. He came back looking shaky and said seriously. I could tell he was hurt and disgusted. After he calmed down, we started talking about what to do next. "What should we do? Should we tell Brian?" he asked. "We can't just leave it like this. If we tell him, we need more proof." I'm worried that Judy could make excuses with just Olivia's story. I agreed. We decided to hire a private investigator to look into Judy's affair. The investigator worked quickly and got us the evidence we needed. One of the photos showed Judy dressed in a way that didn't suit her age, hugging a young man. It was hard to see, but I had to face the truth. The investigator also found out who the young man was. He was a college student who was looking for older women. Judy had been giving him a lot of money, and there was even a picture of them shopping together at a fancy store. It didn't look like an affair. It seemed like she was being taken advantage of. Still, there was no doubt she was cheating, and she knew it was wrong. Now we had the proof to confront her. We just had to figure out when to tell Brian. While we were waiting for the right time, Judy called Jerry and asked him to come over that weekend. The timing couldn't have been better. If I went there, I was sure she would find a way to treat me badly. But if that happened, I could reveal everything. Who would be laughing in the end? The weekend arrived, and I usually dreaded visiting Judy, but today was different. I couldn't wait to expose her lies. As we arrived at my in-laws' house, Judy opened the door with a smile. "Ah, you're here. Hi, Jerry and Olivia. Welcome. I made a delicious lunch for you. Come in." As expected, Judy started her bullying right away. She acted like I wasn't there, turning her back to me and avoiding eye contact. Even though it irritated me, I tried to stay calm. Jerry was about to say something to her, but I stopped him. We had to be patient. It was better to let her keep acting like this and then reveal everything when we were in the living room. Brian was sitting on the sofa, watching TV. "Oh, Victoria, Olivia, and Jerry, welcome. Nothing exciting here, but make yourselves at home," he said. He always said my name first. It might have been nothing to him, but it always made me so happy. As we said hello, Judy smiled and said, "We got lunch delivered. Come, eat with us. I'm sure it's delicious." She set the plates on the table. The lunch was Thai food, papaya salad, pad thai, green curry, tom yum soup, and more. It looked great, but I was allergic to coriander, and Judy knew that. "You know, Judy, I'm allergic to coriander. I can't eat most of this," I said. She waved me off. "I know." Then she started speaking as if everything had built up inside her. "I don't need you to tell me what you're allergic to. I didn't make food for you anyway. My family is just me, Brian, Jerry, and Olivia. Why are you even here? I invited Jerry and Olivia, not you. You're so rude." She kept going. "Let me tell you something, Victoria. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a lazy housewife who doesn't even do housework and just sits around. You don't work, and you don't take care of your house. What do you do all day? Are you having an affair or something?" "Who knows?" "Me? Having an affair?" I said, shocked. Jerry, standing next to me, looked disappointed. It was about time. I couldn't believe Judy was bringing up such a perfect topic. I asked Jerry if I could speak up, and he nodded eagerly. She had been so nasty to me and even traumatized Olivia. It was time to confront her. I took out the photos from my bag and handed them to Brian, not Judy. At first, they both looked confused, but once they realized what they were looking at, their faces changed. Brian's turned red, and Judy's went pale. I couldn't help but notice the difference. "What are these?" Brian asked. "These are photos of Judy having an affair with a young man," I said calmly. Olivia saw them together. She thought I was having an affair, but it looks like she was talking about herself. "No, that's not true. I'm not having an affair with Justin. It's just," Judy panicked and accidentally said the young man's name. Brian got even angrier. "Who's Justin?" "I heard you gave him a lot of money, maybe a couple thousand or even more," I said. "You're a housewife too. Where did all that money come from? It can't be from Brian, right?" I pressed. "You're so cruel. You shouldn't take advantage of his kindness." I took the chance to push her even harder. Judy was shocked, and though she tried to speak, no words came out. She probably never expected me to stand up to her. "Mom, you've been so good to her, haven't you?" "Why are you cheating on him?" Olivia said, speaking up. "I'm ashamed of you. Not only did you bully Victoria, but you're doing horrible things behind Grandpa's back. You don't love him. I'm sorry for him. I don't like you, Grandma." Jerry and Olivia both stared at her, angry. I knew something was wrong. "You've been sneaking around lately. I checked the bank account and saw you've been withdrawing money little by little. I never thought you'd be having an affair with someone so young." Brian shook his head in disbelief. Judy, feeling cornered, suddenly stood tall and lifted her chin defiantly. "What I do is none of your business. I'll live my life the way I want to," she declared. Brian shouted angrily at her, demanding she leave the house. His anger didn't fade, and soon the two of them filed for a divorce. Judy had no job or savings, so she couldn't send money to Justin anymore. He left her. "How did I find out?" Judy told me herself. She was desperate and came to our house, hoping we would feel sorry for her after hearing about her situation. I have no one else. Please, I'm sorry, Victoria, she begged. I don't trust you anymore. Why don't you live your life the way you said you would before? It's not my problem, I replied. Of course, we didn't feel sorry for her. I could never forgive her for what she did to Olivia. In the end, we had to call the police to remove her from our home. Brian had told all the relatives about Judy's affair and how she treated me, so she couldn't count on him either. I heard she was living alone in a cheap apartment and still paying alimony. She had truly brought all of this on herself. Meanwhile, Brian decided to move in with us. After being alone, he's become better with kids than I expected. He takes Olivia out on weekends, and she enjoys spending time with him. She's slowly starting to forget about Judy. He's also helping me with the housework, saying he feels bad living here for free. At first, I had to teach him everything, but now he can do it all by himself and even cooks dinner for us. Thanks to him, I'm able to work part-time. It took me some time to adjust after such a long break, but I really enjoy being outside the house. I'm even thinking about getting a certification. Since Brian moved in, our life has definitely improved. He protected me when Judy mistreated me, and he's still helping me in so many ways. Judy was truly foolish to betray such a good man. I've learned from all of this not to give in to immediate desires and to be thankful for the happiness I have now.
The sound of laughter hits me before I process the words. It starts as a single snicker, Margaret, I think, before rippling through the conference room like a virus. 30 faces stare at me, some trying to hide their smirks behind coffee cups, others openly grinning. My presentation slides still glow on the screen behind me, the culmination of 3 months of work. 3 months I'll never get back. Well, Leandro says, leaning back in his chair at the head of the table. That was, what's the word I'm looking for? He taps his chin, performing thoughtfulness. Ah yes, pathetic. More laughter. The word pathetic echoes in my skull, bouncing around until it drowns out everything else. My hands are trembling, but I force them still against the smooth wood of the conference table. I'm Rosalie Fernandez, youngest executive in the firm's history. I don't tremble. The client specifically asked for innovative. Leandro continues, his voice dripping with false concern. This is derivative at best, amateur at worst. Did you even look at the brief? Of course I looked at the brief. I lived and breathed that brief for weeks. But the words won't come. My throat is dessert dry as I watch my career crumbling in real time. I can explain, I start, but Leandro cuts me off with a wave of his hand. No need, we'll have Eleanor take over the Campbell account. She actually understands our standards. Eleanor shoots me a sympathetic look that doesn't reach her eyes. Meeting dismissed. Rosalie, stay behind. The room empties quickly, the air thick with whispered conversations and backward glances. Margaret pauses at the door, mouth open like she wants to say something, then hurries out. The click of the door closing sounds like a gunshot. Sit, Leandro commands. I remain standing. The numbers support my approach, I say, finding my voice. The market research. He laughs, standing to face me. You really don't get it, do you? This isn't about market research. This is about knowing your place. The fluorescent lights suddenly feel too bright, too harsh. My skin prickles with awareness of how alone we are. My place? The words come out barely above a whisper. You've been pushing too hard, too fast, making waves. Some of the old guard are uncomfortable with your methods. He steps closer, close enough that I can smell his expensive cologne. Consider this a reminder of the natural order of things. The realization hits me like a physical blow. The canceled meetings, the missing emails, the subtle undermining that I dismissed as paranoia. It wasn't incompetence, it was sabotage. You set me up. The words taste like acid. I gave you enough rope to hang yourself. His smile doesn't waver. Take the rest of the day off. Clear your head. Come back tomorrow, ready to be a team player. I gather my laptop with mechanical precision, my movements careful and controlled. Inside, something is building. Not just anger, but something colder, more dangerous. Oh, and Rosalie? He calls as I reach the door. Delete that presentation. We wouldn't want it accidentally ending up in the wrong hands. I turn back, meeting his eyes. Of course not. But I already sent copies to my personal email last night, along with every other project file I've worked on for the past year, along with the emails proving Leandro altered my original brief, along with the recording of him telling Margaret to accidentally delete my backup files. I've spent my whole career being underestimated, being told to wait my turn, pay my dues, know my place. Today, Leandro thought he was teaching me a lesson about power. Instead, he taught me something far more valuable. Sometimes, the only way to win a rigged game is to burn the whole thing down. I walk out of the office into the bright afternoon sun, my heels clicking against the pavement in perfect rhythm. My phone buzzes, a text from Lincoln, my old colleague, who left to start his own consulting firm last year. Heard about the meeting. Call me. Think I might have an interesting proposition for you. A smile spreads across my face as I slide into my car. Leandro has no idea what he just started, but he's about to find out exactly what happens when you back the wrong person into a corner. I open my laptop and start typing. My apartment feels different in the dark, quieter, more honest. I've been sitting here for hours, watching the city lights flicker through my windows while my mind races through the events of the day. My laptop screen glows with dozens of open tabs, email threads, project files, meeting notes, the digital breadcrumbs of my systematic humiliation. The wine in my glass has gone warm, barely touched. I should feel destroyed. Instead, I feel something crystallizing inside me, sharp-edged and dangerous. My phone buzzes again. Lincoln, for the third time. I finally answer. "You're not answering your door," he says, instead of hello, "because I'm not in the mood for company." Too bad. I brought Thai food and information. Open up. I sigh, padding to the door. Lincoln stands there with 2 bags of takeout and that infuriating know-it-all smile he always wore at the firm. "You look terrible," he says, pushing past me. Charming as ever, but I can't help smiling as he starts unpacking containers onto my coffee table. The familiar smell of pad thai fills the air, grounding me. "So," he says, settling onto my couch, "want to hear something interesting about our friend Leandro?" My hand freezes halfway to the food. "What kind of interesting?" "The kind that explains why he's suddenly so desperate to push you out." Lincoln pulls out his phone, scrolling through emails. "Remember that Campbell campaign he gave to Eleanor today? Hard to forget. Well, turns out Campbell specifically requested you, by name. They were impressed with your work on the Jensen account last year." The pad thai turns to ash in my mouth. "What?" "Leandro told them you were too inexperienced to handle their budget, that you'd requested to step back from major accounts to focus on smaller clients." The chopsticks snap in my grip. "He what?" "Oh, it gets better." Lincoln's eyes gleam. "Margaret's been helping him sabotage you for months, changing meeting times, losing files. She's gunning for your position." The betrayal hits like a physical blow. Margaret, who welcomed me my first day, who shared lunch breaks and client horror stories, who knew about my mother's cancer scare last year and covered my meetings without question. "How do you know all this?" "I still have friends at the firm. And unlike Leandro, I actually pay attention to the IT guys. They see everything." My mind is already racing ahead, connecting dots. The Campbell account is worth millions. If Eleanor screws it up, the firm could lose their biggest client. Lincoln nods. "And guess who Leandro will blame?" "Not himself. Never himself." I stand, pacing the length of my living room. "He'll need a scapegoat. Someone who worked on the account before Eleanor. Someone who's been difficult lately. Making waves." Lincoln watches me carefully. "Someone who might have copies of all the original work files." I stop pacing. "How did you know about the files?" "Because it's what I would have done, what I did do before I left." He sets down his food. "Listen, Rosalie, I didn't come here just to share gossip. I came to offer you a job." "What?" "My consulting firm is growing. We just landed 3 major contracts. I need someone with your skills, your drive, someone who isn't afraid to take risks. The offer hangs in the air between us. It's tempting, so tempting. A clean escape, a fresh start. But something else is taking shape in my mind. Something darker, more satisfying. I appreciate the offer, I say slowly. But I think I need to stay exactly where I am. For now. Lincoln studies me for a long moment. You're planning something stupid, aren't you? Not stupid. Strategic. I open my laptop, pulling up the files I'd saved. Leandro thinks he's teaching me about power? Fine. Let's see how he handles someone who actually knows how to use it. Rosalie. Lincoln's voice carries a warning. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're choosing revenge over opportunity. Maybe I'm choosing both. I turn the laptop to show him the email I've just opened. The one from Campbell's CEO, dated 3 months ago, specifically requesting me for the campaign. Sometimes the best revenge is making your enemies destroy themselves. Lincoln reads the email, then looks up at me. Holy shit. I think it's time to schedule a meeting with Campbell. The kind Leandro doesn't know about. I feel that cold clarity settling over me again. Want to help? He grins, reaching for his phone. I thought you'd never ask. The city lights seem brighter now, more purposeful. Tomorrow, Margaret will discover her access to the project's servers has been mysteriously revoked. Eleanor will find her preliminary designs for Campbell mysteriously leaked to their biggest competitor. And Leandro's about to learn that some lessons cut both ways. The chaos starts at exactly 9:17 a.m. I time it perfectly, right after the morning staff meeting, when everyone's settling into their routines. My phone erupts first, followed by my email. The Campbell team, discovering their campaign materials, have somehow landed in their competitor's lap. I watch through my office window as Leandro sprints past, his usually perfect hair disheveled. 3 minutes later, Eleanor follows, mascara already smearing from tears. I take a slow sip of coffee, savoring the moment. Rosalie. Margaret bursts into my office without knocking. Did you hear? The Campbell designs. Leaked? I keep my voice carefully neutral. How unfortunate. She sinks into the chair across from me, face pale. Eleanor's devastated. She worked all weekend on those designs. All weekend? I raise an eyebrow. That's impressive, considering the brief was only assigned to her yesterday. Margaret's expression flickers. Got you. Unless, I continue, she had access to those files before the official handover, which would be strange, wouldn't it? Almost as strange as my backup files disappearing last week. Rosalie, she stops as my computer pings. What was that? Oh, just an automatic notification. Apparently there's been a security breach in the project servers. It's locking down access until they can investigate. I smile. You might want to check your login. She grabs her phone, fingers flying across the screen. I watch the color drain from her face as she realizes she's been locked out of everything. Email, servers, even the company intranet. What did you do? Her whisper carries equal parts fear and awe. Me? Nothing. But it seems someone's been accessing files they shouldn't, moving them, deleting them. The system logs everything, Margaret. Every login, every download, every deleted file. The silence stretches between us, heavy with unspoken accusations. Finally, she looks up, eyes wet. You don't understand, Leandro said. I understand perfectly. My voice stays steady, despite the anger burning in my chest. You chose your side. Now you get to live with it. A commotion erupts in the hallway. Raised voices, the sound of running feet. Margaret turns toward the noise, but I'm already standing. You should go, I tell her. I'm sure Leandro needs all hands on deck right now. She hesitates at the door. We used to be friends. We used to be a lot of things. After she leaves, I allow myself one moment of weakness, one moment to feel the hurt, the betrayal, the weight of burning bridges. Then I straighten my spine and check my phone. A text from Lincoln, Campbell's CEO, requesting emergency meeting. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. You ready? Before I can reply, Freya calls. my mentor from business school, the only person besides Lincoln who knows the full scope of my plan. It's starting, I tell her when I answer. Are you sure about this? Her voice carries that familiar mix of concern and steel. Once you take this meeting, there's no going back. They cross that line, not me. This isn't just about revenge anymore, is it? I watch through my window as Leandro paces the conference room, gesturing wildly at Eleanor and Margaret. No, it's about justice, about making sure they never do this to anyone else. Just remember what we talked about. Don't let anger make your decisions. I won't. But even as I say it, I feel that cold satisfaction spreading through my chest as Leandro slams his fist on the conference table. I'm thinking very clearly. After we hang up, I open my email. The message I've been crafting for days sits in my drafts folder, a detailed timeline of the Campbell account, complete with original briefs, client communications, and server logs showing exactly who accessed what files and when. One click would send it to the board of directors. Not yet, though. First, I need tomorrow's meeting. Need to see Leandro's face when he realizes Campbell isn't just keeping their account with us. They're insisting I run it. Need to watch him try to explain why he lied about their request for me in the first place. My phone buzzes with another text. This one from an unknown number. Heard what's happening. We should talk. I have information you need. E. Eleanor. Interesting. I save the number, but don't respond. Let her sweat. The office has gone quiet now, the initial panic settling into a tense hush. Through the glass walls, I see people huddled at their desks, whispering, watching. They know something bigger is coming. They just don't know what. I close my laptop and gather my things. Tomorrow will be a long day, and I need to be ready. As I pass the conference room, Leandro looks up, our eyes meeting briefly. I give him my brightest smile. Let him think he still has control. By this time tomorrow, he won't even have his job. The cafe Lincoln chose sits 2 blocks from Campbell's headquarters, close enough to be convenient, but far enough that we won't run into anyone from the meeting. My hands shake slightly as I add sugar to my coffee, the adrenaline from the morning finally wearing off. You're sure about those numbers? Lincoln asks, sliding into the seat across from me. Triple-check them myself. I pull out my tablet, showing him the presentation I'd just delivered. Campbell's market research perfectly aligned with my original proposal. The one Leandro claimed was amateur. And his face, when the CEO mentioned specifically requesting you. I allow myself a small smile, like he'd swallowed glass. Wish I could have seen it. Lincoln leans back, studying me. But something's bothering you. Sometimes I hate how well he knows me. Eleanor texted again this morning. Says she has proof Leandro's been running this same play with other female executives. Systematic sabotage, going back years. And you don't trust her? Of course not. But I tap my fingers against the warm ceramic mug. What if she's telling the truth? What if this is bigger than just me? Before Lincoln can respond, my phone buzzes. Margaret. Speaking of people you don't trust, Lincoln mutters as I answer. Can we meet? Margaret's voice sounds strained. Please, it's important. I check my watch. I have 15 minutes. I'm already outside the cafe. Of course she is. I spot her through the window, pacing nervously on the sidewalk. When she enters, her designer suit looks oddly rumpled, like she's been wearing it too long. Mind if I join? Lincoln asks as she approaches. The question isn't directed at me. Margaret hesitates, then nods. Smart choice. She sits, hands clasped tightly around her purse. Eleanor's lying, she says, without preamble. About the proof she claims to have, it's fake. She created it this morning, after. She swallows hard. After Leandro promised her my job. The pieces click into place. He's cutting you loose. He said I was a liability, that I'd been compromised. Her laugh holds no humor. Guess he's not wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because Eleanor's desperate. She knows the Campbell account is gone, knows you've got evidence of her involvement. She'll do anything to save herself, including setting you up. Margaret pulls out her phone, hands shaking. Look, the text chain she shows me makes my blood run cold. Eleanor and Leandro, planning to frame me for corporate espionage. Fabricated evidence showing I'd sold company secrets to competitors. Dated timestamps that would make it look like I'd been doing it for months. They're planting it tomorrow, Margaret says, in the system logs you used to prove the sabotage. It'll make everything you've shown the board look like part of your scheme. Lincoln leans forward. Why should we believe you? Because I saved everything. Margaret's voice hardens. Every email, every conversation, every meeting where Leandro outlined exactly how to systematically destroy someone's career. I was his favorite weapon until I wasn't anymore. My coffee has gone cold. Forgotten. What do you want? Protection. When this breaks, I want immunity from the board. And she takes a deep breath. I want to make it right. Not just for you, but for everyone he's done this to. There are others. Lincoln asks quietly. Margaret nods. 3 in the past 2 years. All women, all rising stars, all gone now. I have their names, their stories. The real evidence Eleanor was talking about. I'm the one who has it. The weight of this revelation settles over our table. My personal vendetta suddenly feels small compared to the scope of what we're uncovering. If you're lying, I start. I'm not. I'll give you everything. Files, recordings, witnesses. But we have to move fast. Once they plant that evidence tomorrow, they won't. The cold clarity I've come to know so well returns, sharper than ever. Because we're moving tonight. Lincoln straightens. What are you thinking? I pull out my laptop, fingers flying across the keys. Margaret, forward me everything you have. Lincoln, call your IT contact. We're going to need server access. I look up at Margaret. You understand there's no going back from this. She meets my gaze steadily. I crossed that line a long time ago. At least this time I'm on the right side. My phone buzzes again. Eleanor, still fishing for a response. Let her wait. Let her and Leandro think their plan is still secret, still safe. By morning, they'll learn what real evidence looks like. And they'll learn it in front of the entire board. One more thing, Margaret says, as she stands to leave. Watch out for Freya. She's not who you think she is. The warning hits like ice water down my spine. But before I can ask what she means, Margaret is gone, leaving only her untouched coffee and the weight of another betrayal waiting to be uncovered. The boardroom feels different at night, emptier, more honest. My heels echo against marble as I make my way down the darkened hallway, guided by the glow of my phone. Lincoln's IT contact came through. We have 2 hours before the security system resets. Server rooms this way, Margaret whispers, leading me through the maze of corridors. Her hands shake as she swipes her keycard, but her voice stays steady. Everything's backed up here before going to the cloud. If they're planning to plant evidence, this is where they'll do it. I finish, following her inside. The hum of servers fills the air, along with the artificial chill of industrial cooling systems. How long? 10 minutes to download everything. Maybe 15 to... She freezes, grabbing my arm. Did you hear that? Footsteps, coming closer. Hide, I hiss, pulling her behind a server bank. We barely make it before the door opens, spilling fluorescent light into the room. Hurry up, Leandro's voice carries clearly in the enclosed space. We need this done before the morning backup. I'm working as fast as I can. Eleanor, she sounds scared. But if anyone traces this back, they won't. The timestamps will show Rosalie's been selling information for months. By the time she realizes what's happening, her career will be over. My fingers tighten around my phone, already recording. Beside me, Margaret's breathing has gone shallow. And what about Margaret? Eleanor asks. She knows too much. Margaret's no longer our concern. By tomorrow she'll be as discredited as Rosalie. A pause. Unless you're having second thoughts. No, this feels wrong. Wrong. Leandro laughs. You wanted her position. This is how you get it. How do you think I got where I am? By destroying people's lives? By understanding power. Now finish the upload. I have another meeting. At this hour? With Freya. She's been very helpful in managing this situation. The phone nearly slips from my grip. Margaret squeezes my arm. A warning or comfort, I'm not sure which. Freya, Eleanor sounds as shocked as I feel. Your source was Rosalie's mentor. Where do you think I got the idea to target her in the first place? Freya's been feeding me information for months. Every weakness, every insecurity, every pressure point. His voice drips satisfaction. It's amazing what people tell their mentors. The betrayal hits like a physical blow. Freya, who guided me through business school, who listened to my fears, my hopes, my plans, who knew about my mother's cancer, my father's abandonment, every vulnerable moment I'd trusted her with. I must make some sound, because Eleanor stops typing. What was that? Probably the cleaning crew. Leandro sounds dismissive. Are you done? Almost. There. Uploaded. Good. Let's go. We wait until their footsteps fade before emerging. My legs feel unsteady, but my mind is crystalline clear. Rosalie, Margaret starts. Download everything. I cut her off. Every file, every log, every piece of evidence they just planted. Then call Lincoln. Tell him to meet us at my apartment. What are you going to do? I check my phone. 9:47 p.m. I'm going to follow Leandro. Find out what else Freya's been sharing. That's too dangerous. If they catch you, they won't. I'm already moving toward the door. Because you're going to create a distraction. How? I turn back, letting her see the cold fury I've been containing. Remember that email about the Campbell account? The one proving Leandro lied to the client. Send it to the board. All of them. Right now. That'll start a firestorm. Exactly. While they're dealing with that, I'll handle Freya. Understanding dawns in her eyes. You're not just gathering evidence anymore, are you? No. I check my lipstick in my phone's reflection. Perfect, professional, war paint. I'm burning everything down, starting with the people who taught me how. Rosalie, wait. She grabs my arm. There's something else you need to know about why Freya targeted you specifically. But before she can continue, both our phones buzz simultaneously. A company-wide email from Eleanor, sent to every employee, every board member, every client contact in the database, regarding systematic discrimination and corruption at executive levels. She broke, Margaret whispers. Eleanor actually broke. I scan the email quickly. Detailed accusations, dates, names. Eleanor's throwing everyone under the bus, including herself. Change of plans, I say, already dialing Lincoln. Tell the IT guy to lock down the servers. No one gets in or out. I start walking, purpose in every step. The game just changed, and I know exactly where Leandro's running to. Behind me, Margaret's voice carries a note of warning. Don't underestimate Freya. She's been playing this game longer than any of us. I smile, sharp and certain. Good. Then she'll appreciate what I'm about to do. Freya's office is exactly as I remember. Tastefully minimalist, with a view of the city that probably costs more than my annual salary. The lights are off, but I can make out her silhouette against the window, waiting. I wondered when you'd figure it out, she says, without turning around. Though I expected it sooner, you're usually quicker than this. Sorry to disappoint. I closed the door behind me. I was busy dealing with the mess you helped create. The mess I helped create? Now she turns, moonlight catching the silver in her hair. Or the opportunity I gave you. That stops me short. What? Oh, Rosalie. Her smile is familiar, the same one she wore when reviewing my business school applications. Did you think it was an accident, that Leandro just happened to target the one person I knew could destroy him? The floor seems to shift under my feet. You planned this. I planted the seeds. You did exactly what I knew you would. Fought back, gathered evidence, built an airtight case. She gestures to the chair across from her desk. Sit. You look like you need it. I remain standing. Why? Because the firm needs change. Real change. not just replacing one corrupt executive with another. She moves to her desk, pulls out a file. I've spent 15 years watching men like Leandro break promising careers, watching the board ignore complaints, brush off evidence, protect their own. So you used me to stop it. The laugh that escapes me sounds hollow. By having him destroy my career, by giving you the chance to destroy his, permanently. She opens the file, spreading photos across her desk. These are the others, the women before you, the ones who didn't fight back. I recognize some of the faces, rising stars who suddenly left, their departures marked by whispered rumors and knowing looks. I tried helping them directly, Freya continues, gave them evidence, encouraged them to report it. Know what happened? The board buried it. Every time, her voice hardens. But you're different. You don't just fight back, you annihilate. My phone buzzes. Lincoln, probably wondering why I haven't checked in. I ignore it. Eleanor's email just went public. I tell her, the whole system is about to burn. Good, she doesn't sound surprised. That was the point. You knew she would break? I knew you would push her to it. Just like I knew Margaret would turn on Leandro once he betrayed her. Just like I knew you'd record everything in that server room tonight. Ice spreads through my veins. You were there? No, but I knew Leandro's plan. Knew he'd try to frame you. Knew you'd catch him in the act. She leans forward. I know you, Rosalie. Better than you know yourself. Everything you told him about me. The pieces click into place with sickening clarity. My mother's cancer, my father leaving. You gave him weapons to use against me? I gave him rope to hang himself with. She stands, moving closer. Every vulnerability he exploited, every pressure point he pushed, it all goes in the lawsuit. Shows pattern, intent, malice. The lawsuit. She hands me another file. Thick, legal looking. Already prepared. Just needs your signature as the primary plaintiff. Once it goes public, the board will have no choice but to clean house. All of them, not just Leandro. My hands shake as I open it. Names, dates, evidence spanning years. A comprehensive case against not just Leandro, but the entire system that protected him. You're not just my mentor, are you? I look up at her. You're the one who's been feeding Lincoln information, the IT access, the client contacts. He's a good ally, like you. She touches my arm gently. Everything I did was to help you win. I jerk away from her touch. By manipulating me, using my trauma as a weapon. By showing you your own strength. Her voice stays calm, reasonable. Look what you've accomplished. In 1 week, you've done what I couldn't do in 15 years. My phone buzzes again. Margaret this time. A warning flashes across the screen. Leandro's coming. Get out. Sign it, Freya urges. End this, tonight. The lawsuit sits heavy in my hands. Justice served cold, calculated, perfect, everything I wanted. So why does it feel like another manipulation? Footsteps echo in the hallway. Running. Time to choose, Rosalie. Freya holds out a pen. Are you a victim or a victor? I look at the pen, then at her. The mentor who guided me, the puppet master who used me, the woman who might be both. Neither, I say, tucking the lawsuit into my bag. I'm something much more dangerous. I'm at the door when she calls after me. What's that? I turn back, letting her see the truth in my smile. I'm the one who gets to choose how this story ends. The footsteps are closer now. Time to move. But first, I have a different file to send to the board, one that shows exactly how deep this manipulation goes. The boardroom erupts into chaos the moment I finish speaking. 15 faces stare at me in varying stages of shock, anger, and disbelief. The evidence I've just presented glows on the screen behind me. Emails, recordings, photographs, years of systematic destruction, all laid bare in pristine digital clarity. Leandro stands first, his carefully maintained composure finally cracking. This is absurd. A desperate attempt by a disgruntled employee to what? I cut him off, my voice steady. To expose how you deliberately sabotaged multiple careers. To reveal how the board ignored complaints? or to show how Freya orchestrated this whole thing. That last part draws shocked whispers. Freya, sitting at the far end of the table, doesn't flinch. If anything, she looks proud. Everything I did, Leandro starts, was for the good of this firm. To maintain standards. Standards. Eleanor's laugh sounds slightly hysterical. She hasn't stopped shaking since she arrived. Tell them about your standards, Leandro. Tell them what you made me do. Eleanor, he warns. No. She stands, tears streaming down her face. I'm done being afraid of you. The boardroom door opens, and Margaret slips in, followed by Lincoln. Right on time. The police have some questions, Lincoln announces, about certain financial irregularities we've uncovered. Leandro's face goes ash white. You can't prove. Actually, Margaret interrupts, setting a thick folder on the table. We can prove everything, including where the money went. The board chairman rises slowly, his expression thunderous. Mr. Mason, I suggest you sit down. This is a witch hunt, Leandro snarls, but I see the fear in his eyes. Rosalie's manipulating you all. Like you manipulated Sarah, I ask quietly. Or Jennifer, or Maria. With each name, I place a photo on the table. Women who came before me, women whose careers he destroyed. You don't understand, he tries again, desperately looking around the room for allies, finding none. The pressure to maintain our reputation. Save it for the police. The chairman's voice could freeze hell. Security is waiting outside. You're making a mistake. Leandro turns to Freya. Tell them what she's really like. Freya stands, straightening her impeccable suit. What Rosalie is, she says carefully, is exactly what I made her to be, a weapon, my greatest success. She smiles at me, maternal and predatory, all at once. Though perhaps I succeeded too well. What does that mean? The chairman demands. It means, I say, clicking to the next slide, that Freya's been playing both sides for years, mentoring promising women, then helping Leandro destroy them, creating victims so she could swoop in with her lawsuit, position herself as a savior. The room goes deadly quiet. Each failure made the next case stronger, I continue. Each destroyed career added weight to her evidence, until she found someone who wouldn't break, someone who'd fight back exactly the way she planned. I meet her eyes across the table. Isn't that right? For the first time, Freya's composure cracks. Everything I did was for yourself. My voice doesn't shake. You didn't want justice, you wanted power. And you don't? She challenges. Look at what you've accomplished. Everything I taught you. Taught me to be like you? I shake my head. That's where you failed. Because I learned something different. I turn to address the board directly. I learned that real power isn't about destroying people. It's about choosing not to, even when you can. Security enters silently, moving toward Leandro. He looks trapped, dangerous. You'll regret this, he hisses. No, I smile, genuine this time. I'll succeed, despite you, not because of you, and that's what will haunt you. As security leads him out, Eleanor breaks down completely. Margaret moves to comfort her, shooting me a questioning look. I nod. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. The lawsuit, Freya says suddenly. You still need me for that. The evidence has already been turned over to the proper authorities. Lincoln steps forward, along with proof of your involvement. The chairman clears his throat. Ms. Fernandez, the board would like to discuss your future with the firm. Actually, I say, gathering my things, I don't think that's necessary. You're leaving? Eleanor looks panicked. After everything? Not leaving, evolving. I meet Lincoln's eyes, see his proud smile, starting something new, something better. And what about us? Margaret asks quietly. I pause at the door, looking back at the room full of broken systems and wounded people. That's up to you. Change is possible, but it has to be real, not just replacing one power structure with another. Freya stands, one last attempt. Rosalie, think about, I have. I cut her off. Thank you for the lessons, Freya, all of them. even the ones you didn't mean to teach. The morning sun hits my face as I walk out. Lincoln beside me, behind us, the past. Ahead, something new, something honest, something mine. The new office still smells of fresh paint and possibility. Floor-to-ceiling windows flood the space with morning light, illuminating empty desks waiting to be filled. My heels click against hardwood as I walk the perimeter, touching each surface, making it real. "Stop obsessing," Lincoln calls from the conference room. "The furniture's not going anywhere." "I'm not obsessing, I'm appreciating." "Same thing." He emerges with a stack of resumes. "First interviews start in an hour. You ready?" Before I can answer, the elevator chimes. Margaret steps out, looking different in casual clothes, more herself somehow. "Sorry I'm early," she says, "but there's something you need to see." She hands me her phone. A news alert shows Leandro being led from his home in handcuffs, the headline detailing charges of financial fraud and corporate espionage. Below that, another headline: "Prominent business mentor arrested in connection with systematic career sabotage scheme." "Freya's not taking any deals," Margaret says. "She's threatening to expose every corporate secret she knows." "Let her." I hand the phone back. "Some things need exposing. That's actually why I'm here." She glances at Lincoln, who nods encouragingly. "I've been thinking about your offer. The offer I made 2 weeks ago, after everything imploded, a chance to help build something new. And I want in, but not as an employee." She straightens her spine. "I want to be a partner. I have savings, and with my settlement from the firm." "No," I cut her off, watching her face fall. "Not with the settlement money. That's yours. Your compensation for what they did to you." I move to my desk, pull out a contract. "But I already had the partnership papers drawn up. Was just waiting for you to ask." Her hands shake as she takes the document. "You knew I would." "I hoped." I smile. "We all deserve second chances. Even recovering enablers." Speaking of second chances, Lincoln interrupts, checking his phone. "Eleanor's here, early for her interview." My stomach tightens. Eleanor, who broke the story wide open, who chose truth over power at the last moment, who's still learning who she is without Leandro's influence. "Send her up." While we wait, Margaret examines the empty office. It's strange. All those years at the firm, fighting for scraps of recognition. Now we're actually building something. Something better, I finish. Something honest. The elevator chimes again. Eleanor steps out, wearing a simple blazer instead of her usual designer suits. She carries herself differently now, less artificial polish, more genuine strength. "Before we start," she says, "I need to tell you something." She pulls out a familiar-looking file. "Freya contacted me. Offered me immunity if I'd testify that you manipulated everything. That you set Leandro up." The air goes still. Lincoln moves closer, protective. "What did you say?" I ask quietly. "I said she taught me what real manipulation looks like." Eleanor's smile is small but genuine. "And that I'm done being anyone's weapon but my own." Pride and relief flood through me. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd say." I take the file, drop it in the shredder without opening it. "Now let's talk about your role here. I thought this was an interview." "It is, for our new creative director position." Her eyes widen. "But after everything I did." "You did terrible things," I acknowledge. "And then you chose to do better." That's exactly the kind of person I want helping others navigate this industry. Tears spill down her cheeks, but her voice stays steady. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." I grin. "Wait until you see the workload." The morning light stretches across the floor as we settle into planning mode. Margaret arranging desks, Lincoln reviewing candidates, Eleanor sketching organizational structures on the whiteboard. All of us damaged, all of us healing, all of us choosing to build rather than destroy. My phone buzzes, a text from the detective handling Leandro's case. "Need your statement tomorrow, re. Freya's involvement." I type back, "I'll be there. Some stories need to be told." Looking around the sunlit office, At these people who've chosen to rise above their worst moments, I feel something settle in my chest. Not the cold clarity of revenge, but something warmer, something real. All right, I say, drawing their attention. Let's create something they never could, something true. Together, we begin. Not with destruction, but with hope. Not with power, but with purpose. Not with fear, but with freedom. And this time, we write our own stories.
I knew I was in trouble the moment Jason's hand lingered on my lower back. Not because it was inappropriate, we'd been sleeping together for months, but because I felt nothing. The electric spark that once shot through me at his touch had vanished, replaced by a hollow emptiness that terrified me more than any fire alarm ever could. "You look stunning tonight, Alyssa," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. The annual holiday party buzzed around us, a sea of colleagues in festive attire, clutching flutes of mediocre champagne. I forced a smile. "Thanks. You clean up nice yourself." The words felt mechanical leaving my mouth. Jason Bennett, the charismatic CEO who'd swept me off my feet 11 months ago, stood before me in a perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His salt and pepper hair was styled just so, and his cologne, something expensive and woody, enveloped me like a familiar blanket. Every woman in the room stole glances at him. I used to feel special being the one he chose to look at. Now I just felt tired. "I need to mingle," he said, squeezing my hip before disappearing into the crowd. I watched him work the room, stopping to chat with board members, laughing at the right moments, touching arms and shoulders with practiced precision. The man was a master at making everyone feel important. It had worked on me too. "Earth to Alyssa." Callie appeared beside me, 2 fresh drinks in hand. "You're staring again." I accepted the champagne gratefully. "Just observing the Jason Bennett show. It's quite the performance." Callie sipped her drink, eyeing me over the rim. "You okay? You seem off tonight." "I'm fine." I wasn't. The truth was, I'd been feeling this disconnect for weeks. Something about Jason and me had shifted, and I couldn't pinpoint when or why. "If you say so." Callie didn't believe me. Best friends rarely do. "Isaiah was looking for you earlier. Something about the Peterson account." I groaned. Can't escape work even at the holiday party. That's what happens when you're the rising star of marketing. She nudged my shoulder playfully. I spotted Isaiah across the room, deep in conversation with the CFO. At 45, my mentor had the kind of wisdom that came from navigating corporate politics for 2 decades. He'd taken me under his wing 3 years ago, and I owed much of my success to his guidance. "I'll catch him later," I said, not wanting to interrupt. The evening continued its predictable course. Speeches from executives, an awkward gift exchange, increasingly loud conversations as the alcohol flowed freely. I played my part, networking and laughing at jokes that weren't funny, all while feeling increasingly detached from the scene around me. At 10:17 p.m., everything changed. The fire alarm blared through the hotel ballroom, its piercing wail cutting through music and chatter. For a moment, everyone froze, exchanging confused glances, wondering if this was some planned entertainment. Then we smelled the smoke. "Everyone remain calm and proceed to the nearest exit," a hotel staff member announced, voice steady but urgent. The room erupted into controlled chaos. I lost sight of Jason in the crowd as we all moved toward the exits. Outside in the December chill, I hugged my arms around myself, my thin cocktail dress offering little protection against the winter air. "Alyssa?" Callie pushed through the crowd toward me. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," I nodded, watching as flames became visible through the ballroom's windows. "Do they know what happened? Kitchen fire, apparently." She shivered beside me. "Have you seen Jason?" I scanned the crowd, spotting familiar faces from marketing, finance, and sales. No Jason. Not since before the alarm. Sirens wailed in the distance as fire trucks approached. Hotel staff distributed emergency blankets to guests shivering in evening wear. I wrapped mine tightly around my shoulders, the metallic material crinkling with each movement. My phone buzzed in my clutch. Probably Jason, I thought, fumbling to retrieve it with cold fingers. The email notification on my screen wasn't from Jason. The sender was unfamiliar. ebennett@gmail.com. E. Bennett. Eloise Bennett? Jason's wife. My stomach dropped. Ex-wife, he'd told me. They'd been separated for over a year, divorce nearly finalized. That's what he'd said when we first started seeing each other. The subject line read, "What Jason Bennett doesn't want you to know." My thumb hovered over the notification, heart hammering against my ribs. Around me, colleagues murmured about the fire, about ruined plans and smoke-damaged clothes. None of it registered. The world had narrowed to just my phone screen and that email. "Alyssa?" Callie's voice seemed distant. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I glanced up, searching the crowd one more time. This time I found him, Jason, standing across the parking lot, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing animatedly. As if sensing my gaze, he turned. Our eyes locked for a brief moment before his expression changed from surprise to something darker. He ended his call abruptly and started walking toward me. I looked back at my phone and opened the email. The email loaded painfully slowly, each second stretching into eternity as Jason made his way through the crowd toward me. My fingers trembled, not from the cold but from the dread pooling in my stomach. "I think you should know the truth about the man you're sleeping with." The first line hit me like a slap. Below it were 3 attachments and a message that turned my insides to ice. "Jason and I are still very much married. The separation is a convenient fiction he uses with women like you. I've attached our most recent family photo, 2 months ago, our joint tax filing from last month, and a screenshot of his text to me from yesterday about our anniversary plans next week. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. You're not the first, and you won't be the last." I stared at the words, reading them again and again, as if they might rearrange themselves into something less devastating. With numb fingers, I opened the first attachment. There they were, Jason, Eloise, and their teenage son at what looked like a lakeside cabin, arms around each other, smiling. The date stamp showed it was taken 8 weeks ago, when Jason had told me he was at a conference in Seattle. "Alyssa." His voice cut through my shock. Jason stood before me now, concern etched across his features so convincingly that for a second I questioned the evidence on my phone. "Are you okay? I've been looking everywhere for you." I looked up at him, this man I'd given 11 months of my life to, whose bed I'd shared just last night, and felt something inside me crack open. "Who's he Bennett?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. His expression flickered, so briefly I might have missed it if I hadn't been watching for it. Confusion, then recognition, then the smooth reassurance I'd come to rely on. "My ex-wife's been causing problems again." He sighed, reaching for my hand. "I'm sorry about that. She's been unstable since I left." I pulled my hand away. Funny, because according to these, I turned my phone screen toward him, showing the family photo. "You haven't left at all." The mask slipped. For one unguarded moment I saw it, calculation behind those warm brown eyes I'd once found so trustworthy. "Let's not do this here," he said, glancing around at our colleagues who were starting to notice our tense exchange. "It's complicated, Alyssa. Let me explain everything somewhere private." "Complicated?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Is that what you call lying to my face for almost a year?" Callie appeared at my side, her presence solid and reassuring. "Everything okay here?" "No," I said, not taking my eyes off Jason. "Nothing is okay." Jason's jaw tightened. "Alyssa, please, you're making a scene." "I'm making a scene?" My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. "You told me you were divorced. You told me your ex-wife was difficult and bitter, and that's why you never introduced us." "Lower your voice," he hissed, reaching for my arm. I jerked away. "Don't touch me." People were definitely staring now. In my peripheral vision, I saw Reese from accounting, watching with undisguised interest. Tomorrow, This would be all over the office. "You need to calm down," Jason said, his CEO voice emerging, the one he used to shut down opposition in meetings. "And you need to explain why your wife thinks you're celebrating your anniversary next week." I scrolled to the text screenshot and held it up. "Or why you filed joint taxes last month when you told me your divorce was final in June." His face hardened. "This isn't the place." "Then where is the place, Jason? Your actual home with your actual wife?" Callie's hand found my shoulder, squeezing gently. "Alyssa, maybe we should go. The fire department's letting people back in to get their things." I nodded, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline that had propelled my confrontation was ebbing, leaving behind a hollow ache in my chest. "We're not done discussing this," Jason said, his voice low. "There are things you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I turned away, letting Callie guide me toward the hotel entrance. We retrieved our coats and bags in silence. My mind raced through every moment with Jason, every promise, every intimate confession, all of it tainted now, all of it suspect. "Want to talk about it?" Callie asked as we waited for our Uber. "Not yet." I stared at my phone, scrolling through the rest of Eloise's email. The final paragraph stopped my breath. "If you're wondering why I'm telling you this now, it's because I found something in Jason's private accounts yesterday. He's been embezzling from the company, your company, for years. The evidence is in his home office. I'm done protecting him, and I thought you should know exactly who you're dealing with before he drags you down too." My mind whirled with implications. If this was true, if Jason was stealing from the company, it explained so much. The mysterious budget shortfalls in projects he oversaw. The financial reviews he'd postponed repeatedly. The way he'd discouraged me from looking too closely at certain accounts. The Uber arrived, its headlights cutting through the night. As I climbed in, my phone buzzed with a text from Jason. "This isn't what it looks like. Meet me tomorrow. I can explain everything." I turned off my phone without replying. Something cold and determined settled in my chest, replacing the hurt with something harder, something sharper. Jason Bennett had destroyed my trust. Now I would destroy him. I called in sick the next day. The thought of facing office whispers and pitying glances made my stomach turn. Instead, I sat cross-legged on my couch, laptop balanced on my knees, systematically erasing Jason from my life, untagging photos, deleting messages, removing his playlists from my Spotify. My phone buzzed for the 12th time that morning. Jason again. I silenced it without reading the message and returned to my digital purge. A knock at my door startled me. I froze, wondering if Jason had decided to bring his explanations in person. The knock came again, more insistent. "Alyssa, it's me. Open up." Callie's voice. I exhaled and shuffled to the door in my oversized sweater and leggings, hair piled messily on top of my head. Callie stood there holding a paper bag that smelled like cinnamon and coffee. "You look like hell," she said, pushing past me into the apartment. "Thanks. I feel worse." I closed the door and followed her to the kitchen. She unpacked breakfast, almond croissants and 2 large coffees, and studied me with narrowed eyes. "So, are we burning his stuff or what?" A laugh escaped me, surprising us both. "I don't have much of his stuff. He was careful about that." "Of course he was." She slid a coffee toward me. "Married men usually are." The word married hit me like a physical blow. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, anchoring myself. "Have you talked to him?" Callie asked. "No, he's called, texted, emailed." I took a sip of coffee, welcoming the bitter heat. "I'm not ready to hear whatever lies he's prepared." Callie broke a croissant in half, flaky layers separating under her fingers. "What are you going to do about work? Everyone saw your fight." "Fantastic," I groaned. "Is Reese having a field day?" "Let's just say she's not downplaying what she witnessed." Callie hesitated. "Isaiah was asking about you, my mentor, the man whose respect meant everything to me professionally." "What did he say?" "He wanted to make sure you were okay, said to tell you to take whatever time you need." She paused. "But Alyssa, there's something else. Something about the embezzlement claim. My head snapped up. What about it? I overheard Isaiah talking to the CFO. There's an internal investigation happening. They didn't mention Jason specifically, but they were discussing financial irregularities in the executive accounts. My mind raced. If Eloise was right about the embezzlement, Jason wasn't just a cheating husband, he was a criminal. And I had been sleeping with him, confiding in him, trusting him with sensitive information about my projects and clients. I need proof, I said, more to myself than to Callie. Proof of what? That he's married? You already have that. No, the embezzlement. If he's stealing from the company, that's my leverage. I met Callie's concerned gaze. I need to talk to someone in IT. You mean Riker? She raised an eyebrow. The guy who stares at you in every meeting. He doesn't stare. I felt my cheeks warm. And yes, Riker. He has access to the financial systems. This sounds dangerous, Alyssa. If Jason is embezzling and you start poking around, what's he going to do? Fire me? Cheat on me? I stood up, sudden energy coursing through me. I'm already at rock bottom. The only way is up. 2 hours later, I sat in a corner booth at a coffee shop 6 blocks from the office, nervously shredding a napkin. The door chimed, and Riker walked in, his tall frame and dark curls instantly recognizable. He spotted me and wove between tables, sliding into the seat across from me. This is very cloak and dagger, he said with a half smile. Secret coffee meetings during work hours. Thanks for coming. I pushed a coffee toward him. I wasn't sure you would. A cryptic text from Melissa asking for urgent help. Wouldn't miss it. His smile faded as he studied my face. You look like you haven't slept. That obvious, huh? I tried to smile but couldn't quite manage it. What's going on? Your message said it was important. I took a deep breath. What I'm about to ask you is probably against company policy, possibly illegal. If you want to walk away, I completely understand. Riker leaned forward, voice dropping. Is this about Jason? The question caught me off guard. How did you... Everyone saw what happened at the party. His expression darkened. And it's not the first time he's done this. Done what exactly? Dated employees while hiding the fact he's married. Riker's fingers tapped a restless rhythm on the table. There was someone in accounting before you, and an intern before her. A pattern. Of course there was a pattern. I swallowed hard against the humiliation rising in my throat. I need access to the financial records Jason oversees, I said, forcing myself to focus. I have reason to believe he's been embezzling company funds. Riker's eyes widened. That's a serious accusation. I know. That's why I need proof, not just suspicion. He was quiet for a long moment, considering. I could lose my job for this. I understand. Like I said, you can walk away. I didn't say I wouldn't help. His eyes met mine, something fierce and determined in them. Jason Bennett isn't who everyone thinks he is. I've been waiting for a chance to prove it. What do you mean? Riker glanced around before leaning closer. 2 years ago, my sister worked in HR. She found discrepancies in executive expense reports, specifically Jason's. When she raised concerns, she was fired within a week, officially for performance issues. Understanding dawned. This is personal for you. Yes. His jaw tightened. So what exactly are we looking for? As I outlined what I needed, something shifted inside me. The hurt and betrayal were still there, but alongside them grew something new, a cold, clear purpose. This wasn't just about a man who had lied to me. This was about justice. I can get you what you need, Riker said finally. But Alyssa, be careful. If Jason realizes what you're doing, I know the risks. What I didn't say was that I welcomed them. For the first time since reading Eloise's email, I felt something other than pain. I felt powerful. 3 days later, I returned to work with armor carefully constructed, a crisp black pantsuit, hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, makeup applied with precision to hide the shadows under my eyes. I'd rehearsed responses to potential questions, prepared neutral expressions, and steeled myself against the inevitable gossip. What I hadn't prepared for was the silence. Conversations hushed as I walked through the marketing department. Glances slid away from mine. Even Reese, who thrived on office drama, merely watched me with calculating eyes as I passed her desk. "Welcome back," Isaiah said when I knocked on his office door. His smile seemed genuine, but something in his eyes, concern, maybe pity, made my spine stiffen. "Thanks. I had that stomach bug going around." The lie tasted bitter. "Of course." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Have a seat. We should discuss the Peterson campaign." For 20 minutes we talked strictly business. Isaiah reviewed my proposal, suggested minor adjustments, and approved the budget. Normal, professional. As if he hadn't witnessed my public meltdown with the CEO. As I gathered my notes to leave, he finally broached the subject. "Alyssa, about what happened at the holiday party. I'd rather not discuss my personal life at work," I cut in, my tone sharper than intended. Isaiah leaned back, studying me. "Fair enough, but as your mentor, I need to say this. Be careful about the battles you choose. Some aren't worth fighting." A chill ran through me. "What does that mean?" "It means Jason has a lot of influence in this industry. I'd hate to see your career affected by personal complications." The warning was clear, wrapped in concern though it was. Don't rock the boat. Don't challenge the powerful. Don't make waves. "Thank you for your concern," I said, standing, "but I can handle my own battles." Back at my desk, I found an email from Riker with the subject line, "Coffee again?" The message contained only a time, 3:30 p.m., and a different cafe address. At 3:25, I slipped out, telling Callie I needed air. The cafe was smaller than our previous meeting spot, tucked between a bookstore and a vintage clothing shop. Riker sat in the farthest corner, a laptop open before him. "Did anyone see you leave?" he asked as I sat down. "I don't think so. Why the paranoia?" He turned his laptop toward me. "Because I found something. Several somethings, actually." The screen showed a spreadsheet of financial transfers, dates, amounts, account numbers. Nothing immediately incriminating to my untrained eye. "What am I looking at?" "These are transfers from the company's operational fund to various vendor accounts." His finger traced a column of numbers. "Except these vendors don't exist. The money goes to shell companies, then gets moved offshore." My heart raced. "And you can prove Jason is behind this? That's where it gets complicated." Riker scrolled to another document. "The authorizations come from his department, but they're executed using the CFO's credentials. Either they're working together, or Jason is setting someone else up to take the fall." I finished his thought, the pieces clicking together. "Exactly." Riker looked grim. "There's more. I tracked some of these transfers to personal accounts. One belongs to Jason, but another..." He hesitated. "Another what?" "Another is in your name." The cafe seemed to tilt around me. "That's impossible. I don't have any offshore accounts." "According to these records, you do. Opened 6 months ago, with regular deposits coinciding with these unauthorized transfers." My stomach dropped. "He's framing me." "It looks that way." Riker closed his laptop. "If this embezzlement comes to light, the evidence points to you as his accomplice." I pressed my fingers to my temples, trying to think through the implications. "Can you trace when these accounts were created? IP addresses, anything?" "I'm working on it, but whoever did this covered their tracks well." He paused. "Alyssa, you need to be careful. This is bigger than an office affair gone wrong." "I know." My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "Thank you for risking this." Riker's hand briefly covered mine. "We'll figure it out." The touch was unexpected, warm and reassuring. I pulled away, uncomfortable with the intimacy and the complication it suggested. "I should get back before people notice I'm gone." Outside, the winter air bit at my cheeks as I walked briskly back to the office. My mind raced with this new information. Jason hadn't just lied about his marriage. He'd potentially set me up to take the fall for his crimes. As I approached the building, a sleek black car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a face I recognized from photographs but had never seen in person. Eloise Bennett. "Get in," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "We need to talk." I hesitated, every instinct screaming caution. "If you want to avoid prison for embezzlement, you'll hear what I have to say." Her perfectly manicured hand pushed the door open wider. My heart hammered against my ribs. How did she know about the embezzlement evidence? About my supposed involvement? 5 minutes, I said, sliding into the leather seat beside her. The car pulled away from the curb. Eloise studied me with cool appraisal, her blonde hair falling in elegant waves around a face that was beautiful in a sharp, intimidating way. "So you're the latest one," she said finally. "I'm not the latest anything," I replied, anger flaring. "I'm the woman your husband lied to for nearly a year." A small smile curved her lips. "Good, you've got fire, you'll need it." "What do you want from me?" "An alliance." She reached into her designer handbag and withdrew a flash drive. "This contains evidence of Jason's embezzlement going back 3 years, evidence that clears you and implicates him beyond doubt." I stared at the small device. "Why would you help me?" "Because I want the same thing you do." Her eyes, the same warm brown as Jason's but infinitely colder, locked with mine. "I want to destroy him, and I can't do it alone." The flash drive sat between us like a loaded gun. "Why now?" I asked. "Why not turn him in years ago?" "Because now I have you, someone with inside access and a personal vendetta." She leaned closer. "So what's it going to be, Alyssa? Are you in, or are you going to let him ruin you like he's ruined so many others?" I reached for the flash drive, my decision made before my fingers closed around it. "We need to meet," I texted Jason, after examining the contents of Eloise's flash drive. The evidence was damning. Emails, account transfers, and recordings that proved his embezzlement scheme and his deliberate attempt to frame me. His response came immediately. "My office, 7 p.m. I forwarded copies of everything to both my personal email and to Riker as insurance, then spent the afternoon rehearsing what I would say. By 6:55 p.m., most employees had left for the day. I stood outside Jason's corner office, smoothing my blazer and taking deep breaths. Through the glass wall, I could see him at his desk, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing emphatically. When he spotted me, he ended his call abruptly and waved me in. "Alyssa." He stood, coming around his desk with arms outstretched as if to embrace me. I stepped back. "Don't." His arms dropped, but his smile remained, that practiced, charismatic smile that had once made my heart race. Now it just made my skin crawl. "I've been worried about you," he said, perching on the edge of his desk. "You haven't returned my calls." "I've been busy." I remained standing, maintaining distance between us, learning some interesting things about you. Something flickered in his eyes, caution perhaps, but his expression remained concerned, sincere. "I know you're upset about Eloise. I should have been honest about the status of my divorce." "Stop." I held up a hand. "Let's not waste time with lies. I know about the embezzlement, Jason. I know about the offshore accounts. And I know you tried to set me up to take the fall." The transformation was instant. The warm concern vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. He straightened, no longer the apologetic lover, but the executive assessing a threat. "That's quite an accusation." His voice had dropped an octave. "Do you have any idea what you're saying?" "I have every idea." I pulled out my phone, opened one of the audio files from the flash drive, and played it. Jason's voice discussing moving funds through shell companies with someone whose voice I didn't recognize. He listened, face impassive. When the recording ended, he sighed and walked to the window overlooking the city. "Who else knows about this?" he asked, his back to me. "That depends on what happens next." He turned, studying me with new eyes, not as a lover or even an adversary, but as a business problem to solve. "What do you want, Alyssa?" Money? A promotion? The casual way he offered a bribe made my blood boil. I want you to remove my name from any accounts you've created. I want written confirmation that I had no knowledge of or involvement in your scheme. A small smile played at his lips. Is that all? And I want you to resign, quietly. No golden parachute, no cushy landing at another company. He laughed then, a genuine sound of amusement that echoed in the large office. That's not going to happen. Then I take this to the board and the police. With what evidence? Recordings that could easily be manipulated. Financial documents you could have fabricated. He moved closer, confidence radiating from him. Who do you think they'll believe? The CEO with a spotless reputation, or the scorned woman he broke up with? Broke up with? I repeated incredulously. That's the narrative, Alyssa. We had a brief affair. I ended it. You became obsessed, vindictive. He shrugged. It's already making the rounds, thanks to our friend Reese. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Check your work email. HR sent a message about appropriate workplace relationships this afternoon. Not naming names, of course, but everyone knows who it's about. I pulled out my phone and saw the email. A company-wide reminder about the policy against harassment and creating hostile work environments. The timing wasn't coincidental. You're setting me up as the unstable ex, I realized aloud. It's nothing personal. He returned to his desk, the picture of a man unbothered. Just business. This isn't over, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. It is, though. He sat down, already turning his attention to his computer. I'd start looking for another job if I were you. Your reputation here is compromised. I left his office with my hand shaking, not from fear, but from rage. In the elevator, I checked my phone and found a text from Callie. We need to talk, now. I met her in the parking garage, where she paced beside her car. What the hell is going on? She demanded when she saw me. HR is asking questions about you and Jason. Reese is telling everyone you're having some kind of breakdown. It's complicated, I began. No shit. She crossed her arms. I'm your friend, Alyssa. Talk to me. I hesitated, weighing how much to reveal. Jason is trying to discredit me because I found out something he doesn't want exposed. The embezzlement? I stared at her. How do you... Because I've been helping Isaiah gather evidence for months. She lowered her voice. The CFO noticed discrepancies last year. They've been building a case quietly. My mind reeled. Why didn't you tell me? Isaiah thought you might be involved because of your relationship with Jason. Her expression softened at my shock. I told him that was ridiculous, but he insisted on keeping you in the dark until they were certain. And now they're ready to move, but Jason seems to be setting you up to take the blame. She unlocked her car. Get in. There's someone you need to meet. Who? The real whistleblower, the person who first noticed the missing funds. She slid into the driver's seat. Riker's sister. As we drove away from the office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Change of plans. Jason knows we're working together. Meet me at the Harborview Hotel, room 712, Eloise. I stared at the message, a chill running down my spine. If Jason knew about my alliance with his wife, what else did he know? And more importantly, what was he planning to do about it? We need to make a stop first, I told Callie, showing her the text. I think we're running out of time. The Harborview Hotel loomed ahead, its glass facade reflecting the city lights like a wall of stars. Callie pulled into the parking garage, killing the engine with a concerned glance my way. I still think this is a bad idea, she said. Meeting Eloise alone after that text, it screams trap. That's why you're here. I checked my phone again. No new messages. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call Riker. Why not just call the police? With what? We need more concrete evidence before involving them. I unbuckled my seatbelt. Besides, if Jason is setting me up, the last thing I need is to look more unstable by making accusations I can't prove. Callie grabbed my arm. Just be careful. Jason's already showing how far he'll go to protect himself. The elevator ride to the 7th floor gave me time to rehearse what I'd say to Eloise. We needed to coordinate our approach, especially now that Jason knew we were working together. The hallway was quiet, my footsteps muffled by plush carpeting as I approached room 712. I knocked softly. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Eloise? It's Alyssa. Still nothing. Unease prickled along my spine. I tried the handle, unlocked. The door swung open to reveal a dimly lit suite, curtains drawn against the night. Eloise? The room appeared empty, the bed still made, no personal items visible. I stepped inside, letting the door close behind me. Something felt wrong. I was wondering if you'd come. I whirled around. Jason stood by the bathroom door, his expression unreadable in the low light. Where's Eloise? I demanded, backing toward the exit. Not here, obviously. He moved into the room, blocking my path to the door. She didn't send that text. My heart hammered against my ribs. What do you want? To negotiate. He gestured to the small table by the window. Have a seat. I'll stand. Always so stubborn. He sighed, loosening his tie. That's what I liked about you, Alyssa. Your determination, your unwillingness to back down. Save the compliments. You've made your position clear. Have I? He moved closer, and I resisted the urge to step back. Because I think there's been a misunderstanding. I don't want to be your enemy. You framed me for embezzlement and told HR I'm having a breakdown. That's pretty hostile. Insurance policies. He shrugged. You threatened me. I protected myself. That's business. This isn't business. This is my life you're messing with. And you're messing with mine. For the first time, his calm facade cracked, revealing something harder beneath. Do you have any idea what I've built, what I've sacrificed? Your integrity, your marriage, the company's financial stability. I crossed my arms. Quite the empire of sand, Jason. His jaw tightened. I want the flash drive Eloise gave you. So he did know about that. I don't have it with me. Don't lie to me. He stepped closer, invading my space. Eloise is trying to ruin me in our divorce. She's using you. Like you used me. I held my ground despite the alarm bells ringing in my head. At least she was honest about her intentions. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Last chance, Alyssa. Give me the drive, sign an NDA, and this all goes away. You keep your job, your reputation, everything. And if I refuse, then I destroy you. His voice was soft, almost regretful. The embezzlement evidence points to you. HR already thinks you're unstable. It wouldn't take much to convince everyone you fabricated evidence against me out of spite. The room seemed to close in around me. He was right, he held all the cards. My word against his. And he had the company's trust, resources, and a head start on controlling the narrative. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Callie, probably wondering if I was okay. The reminder of her waiting outside steadied me. You're forgetting something, I said, finding my voice again. I'm not alone in this. Eloise has copies of everything. So does Riker. And now, so does Isaiah. Uncertainty flickered across his face. You're bluffing. Am I? Callie told me tonight that Isaiah and the CFO have been building a case against you for months. They know about the offshore accounts, the shell companies, all of it. He stared at me, recalculating. Isaiah wouldn't. He already has. Why do you think he's been asking so many questions about the Peterson account? That's where you've been hiding most of the transfers, right? It was a shot in the dark based on what Riker had shown me, but Jason's expression confirmed I'd hit the mark. It's over, Jason, I continued, gaining confidence. The board meeting tomorrow? They're not reviewing quarterly projections. They're reviewing evidence against you. His composure crumbled completely. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done. I've stopped you from making me your scapegoat. I moved toward the door, keeping my eyes on him. Now, if you'll excuse me. His hand shot out, gripping my arm with bruising force. You're not going anywhere until we resolve this. Fear surged through me, but I kept my voice steady. Let go of me, or I scream and bring hotel security running. And tell them what? That your married ex-boyfriend is being mean to you. His grip tightened. Who do you think they'll believe? The door burst open behind us. Callie stood there, Riker at her shoulder. Everything okay in here? Riker asked, his normally gentle demeanor replaced by something harder as he assessed the situation. Jason released my arm immediately, stepping back with a forced smile. Just having a private conversation. Looks like it's over, Callie said, her eyes fixed on the red marks forming on my arm. I moved toward them, relief washing over me. We were just leaving. As we turned to go, Jason called after me. This isn't finished, Alyssa. You have until morning to reconsider. I paused in the doorway, turning to face him one last time. You're right about one thing, Jason. This isn't finished. But I'm not the one who should be worried about tomorrow. In the elevator, my legs finally gave out. I leaned against the wall, shaking. What happened in there? Callie demanded. He knows everything, I said, my voice unsteady. And he's desperate. Riker's expression darkened. That makes him dangerous. It also means we're winning, I replied, straightening as the elevator reached the lobby. And tomorrow we end this. Morning arrived with a text from Isaiah. Boardroom, 9 a.m. Come prepared. I hadn't slept. After leaving the hotel, Callie had insisted I stay at her place, worried Jason might show up at my apartment. We'd spent hours reviewing the evidence with Riker and his sister Mia, the original whistleblower who'd been silenced 2 years ago. You don't have to do this, Callie said as we pulled into the office parking garage at 8:45. The board has enough evidence without you putting yourself in the crosshairs. I checked my reflection in the visor mirror. I'd chosen my outfit carefully, a navy suit that projected confidence and professionalism. Nothing that could be dismissed as emotional or unstable. I need to be there, I said, applying a final touch of lipstick. This isn't just about the embezzlement anymore. It's about all the people he's hurt. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt endless. My phone buzzed with a message from Riker. In position, good luck. The boardroom doors loomed ahead, heavy wood panels that suddenly seemed impossibly intimidating. I hesitated, my hand on the handle, doubt creeping in. What if Jason had gotten to the board first? What if they believed him over me? A voice behind me made me jump. They're waiting for you. I turned to find Eloise standing there, elegant in a cream pantsuit, her expression unreadable. You're here, I said stupidly. Of course I am. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Jason came to my house last night after your meeting. He was unhinged. Threatened to ruin me if I testified today. A chill ran through me. Are you still going to? Watch me. She pushed past me and opened the door. Inside, the board members sat around the massive table, expressions grave. Isaiah nodded slightly when he saw me. The CFO shuffled papers nervously. And at the head of the table, looking completely composed, sat Jason. Ah, the gang's all here, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Shall we begin? I took a seat as far from him as possible, Eloise doing the same on the opposite side. The board chair, an older woman named Vivian, cleared her throat. This emergency meeting has been called to address serious allegations regarding financial improprieties. Her gaze swept the room. Isaiah, as you requested this meeting, perhaps you should start. Isaiah stood, distributing folders to each board member. For the past 6 months, the finance team has been tracking unusual transfers from our operational accounts to what appear to be vendor payments, but which we've discovered are shell companies. As he detailed the evidence, I watched Jason. He remained perfectly still, his expression neutral, occasionally nodding, as if considering the information objectively. The perfect picture of an executive hearing troubling news for the first time. These are serious allegations, Vivian said when Isaiah finished. Jason, what do you have to say? Jason straightened, his expression appropriately concerned. I'm as disturbed as everyone else by what I'm hearing. If these transfers occurred, they happened without my knowledge or approval. That's a lie, I said, unable to contain myself. All eyes turned to me. Ms. Reynolds, Vivian said, you'll have your turn to speak. Actually, Jason interjected smoothly, I think it's important to address Ms. Reynolds' presence here. As some of you may know, we had a brief personal relationship that ended recently. These accusations appear to be motivated by personal animus rather than fact. The room temperature seemed to drop. I felt the weight of skeptical gazes, saw the slight shifts in posture as board members reconsidered the situation. That's quite convenient, Eloise said, her voice cutting through the tension. Discredit the witness by suggesting she's emotionally compromised. Jason's smile tightened. Eloise, always a pleasure. I assume you're here because of the divorce proceedings. I'm here because you've been stealing from this company for years, she replied coolly. And I have proof. She opened her laptop and turned it toward the board. These are recordings of Jason discussing the embezzlement scheme with his accomplice, Reese from accounting. The room fell silent as Jason's voice filled the air, discussing offshore accounts and how to disguise transfers. When the recording ended, all eyes turned to him. His composure cracked slightly. These are clearly manipulated. Eloise has every reason to fabricate evidence, given our contentious divorce. They're not manipulated, I said, finding my voice again. And I'm not the only one with copies. On cue, the door opened. Riker entered, followed by Mia and, to my surprise, the head of IT security. We've verified the authenticity of the recordings, the IT head stated, and we've traced the creation of the offshore accounts to Mr. Bennett's personal devices. Jason stood abruptly. This is absurd, a conspiracy to... There's more, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. Last night, Jason threatened me at the Harborview Hotel, room 7112. He demanded I hand over evidence and sign an NDA. I played the recording I'd secretly made during our confrontation, capturing his threats and admission that he'd tried to frame me. The color drained from Jason's face as his own words condemned him. He looked around the room, finding no allies. You recorded me without consent, he tried, his voice hollow. Single-party consent state, Isaiah replied. Perfectly legal. Jason's eyes locked with mine, hatred burning in them. You think you've won? This isn't about winning, I said, meeting his gaze steadily. It's about truth. He lunged suddenly, reaching across the table toward me. Board members gasped, chairs scraping as people moved back. But before he could reach me, security officers appeared at the door. Riker had positioned them there in advance. Jason Bennett, one officer said, we need you to come with us. As they escorted him out, his mask finally shattered completely. This isn't over, he shouted, struggling against their grip. You'll regret this, Alyssa, all of you. The door closed behind them, his threats fading down the hallway. In the sudden silence, I realized I was shaking, not from fear but from relief. It was over. Vivian cleared her throat. I think we've seen enough. The board will need to discuss next steps, including involving the authorities. As people began to file out, Eloise approached me. Not bad, she said, the ghost of a smile on her lips. For an amateur. Is that a compliment? I asked. Take it however you want. She gathered her things. Just know that men like Jason, they don't stay down for long. Watch your back. With that cryptic warning, she left, leaving me alone with Isaiah. You did well, he said, squeezing my shoulder. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you we were building a case. I understand why you didn't. And surprisingly, I did. What happens now? Now? He glanced toward the window, where the morning sun illuminated the city. Now we rebuild. The office felt different as I packed my desk. Not because of the whispers that followed me through the hallways, or the awkward smiles from colleagues who didn't know what to say to the woman who'd brought down their CEO. It felt different, because I was different. You don't have to do this, Isaiah said, leaning against my doorframe. The board specifically stated they want you to stay. I placed my awards and certificates into a cardboard box. I know, but I need a fresh start. The interim CEO position is still on the table. He stepped into my office, closing the door behind him. You're the most qualified person to help rebuild after Jason's damage. I paused, considering the offer I'd already declined twice. I'm flattered, but my decision is made. At least tell me where you're going. That's the beauty of it, I don't know yet. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. But I've got some ideas. A knock interrupted us. Riker stood in the doorway, a flash drive in hand. Sorry to interrupt, he said, but you need to see this before you go. I glanced at Isaiah, who nodded and stepped out, giving us privacy. What is it? I asked as Riker plugged the drive into my computer. I've been digging through Jason's personal files since his arrest. He pulled up a folder labeled Contingencies. He kept detailed records on everyone he considered a threat or an asset. The folder contained subfolders with names, board members, executives, even Isaiah, and me. He started your file the day you were hired, Riker said quietly, long before your relationship began. I clicked through documents spanning 3 years, performance evaluations, personal details, even photos of me at company events. A chill ran through me as I realized the extent of Jason's calculation. He targeted you from the beginning, Riker continued. Your file has notes about your ambition, your trust issues, even your dating history. He was studying you, looking for vulnerabilities. Why me? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Because of this. He opened another document, an organizational chart with succession planning notes. My name was highlighted as a high potential risk for his position. He saw you as a threat, Riker said. The affair wasn't just personal, it was strategic. Keep your enemies closer. The revelation should have devastated me, but instead, I felt an unexpected surge of pride. Jason Bennett, master manipulator and predator, had feared me enough to try to control me. There's something else, Riker hesitated. About Eloise. He opened another file containing email exchanges between Jason and Eloise, dated just weeks before the holiday party. My eyes widened as I read their coordinated plans. Jason would seduce me, Eloise would expose him, and together they would use my reaction to discredit me professionally. They were working together, I whispered, until Jason double-crossed her too. He was embezzling from their joint accounts, as well as the company. I leaned back in my chair, processing this final betrayal. So when she approached me, she was still following their original plan, just with a new motivation. Riker closed the files. I thought you should know the whole truth before you leave. Thank you. I stood, suddenly eager to be gone from this place of manipulation and lies. As I carried my box through the marketing department one last time, Callie fell into step beside me. Dinner tonight? She asked. A proper send-off? Actually, I have plans. I smiled at her surprised expression. Don't worry, I'll call you tomorrow with all the details. Outside, the spring air felt clean and new. I placed my box in my car and checked the time, just enough to make my appointment. The restaurant was small and elegant, tucked away from the main business district. I spotted her immediately, sitting alone at a corner table. You came, Eloise said as I slid into the seat across from her. I wasn't sure you would after everything. I almost didn't. I studied her face, searching for signs of the calculation I now knew had been there all along. Riker found the emails, Eloise. I know you and Jason planned to use me from the beginning. She didn't flinch. Yes, we did. Why tell me to meet you today? Why not just disappear? She took a sip of her wine before answering. Because despite how it started, I find myself respecting you, and because I have a proposition. Another one? I laughed without humor. I think I've had enough of those to last a lifetime. This one's different. She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table. I'm starting a consulting firm specializing in corporate fraud detection. I need a partner who understands both the business and the personal sides of deception. I stared at the card, then back at her. You can't be serious. Completely serious. We'd make an excellent team. You manipulated me, used me as a pawn in your game with Jason, and you turned the tables on both of us. A genuine smile curved her lips. That's exactly why I want to work with you. I should have walked out, should have told her exactly what I thought of her proposition. Instead, I found myself considering it. Why would I ever trust you? I asked. You shouldn't, not completely, just like I won't fully trust you. She leaned forward. But imagine what we could accomplish together. Two women who've seen behind the curtain of power and manipulation. I picked up the business card, turning it over in my fingers. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. She signaled for the check. Take your time. Unlike Jason, I understand the value of patience. As she walked away, I remained at the table, the business card still in my hand. 6 months ago, I'd been a woman defined by what others wanted from me. Jason's lover, the company's rising star, the perfect employee. Now I was something else entirely, a woman who had walked through fire and emerged not just unburned, but illuminated. I slipped the card into my pocket and stepped out into the evening light. Whatever I decided, about Eloise, about my career, about my future, one thing was certain. The choice would be mine alone, made with clear eyes and on my own terms. Some fires don't destroy, they transform. The Cartier box sat on my desk like a promise, its deep red surface catching the morning light. I ran my fingers over the embossed logo, still hardly believing it was mine. After 3 years of 60-hour weeks and sacrificed weekends, validation had finally arrived in the form of this elegant little package. Savannah, you've earned this. Ryland's words from yesterday's meeting still echoed in my head. The way he'd placed the box in front of me, that proud mentor's smile spreading across his face. Your dedication to the Morrison project hasn't gone unnoticed. I lifted the lid again, though I'd already checked its contents a dozen times since yesterday. The bracelet gleamed against the cream-colored cushion, each diamond catching the light like a tiny star. It was exactly the kind of piece I'd always dreamed of owning, but could never justify buying for myself. My phone buzzed. Laura's name flashed across the screen. Please tell me you haven't worn it yet, she said, before I could even say hello. What? The bracelet? Yes, the bracelet. Don't put it on. Something in her voice made my stomach clench. Why not? What's wrong? I need you to check something for me. Laura's words came fast, urgent. Go to your email and search for any receipts from Cartier in the last week. Laura, what are you? Just do it, please. I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder, typing with suddenly unsteady fingers. The search results populated quickly. One email from 3 days ago. I clicked it open, and the world tilted sideways. The receipt showed the bracelet had been charged to my corporate card. My corporate card that I hadn't used in weeks. That's impossible, I whispered. Ryland gave this to me as a bonus. For the Morrison project. Check the timestamp on the purchase, Laura said quietly. Tuesday 9:47 p.m., the exact time I'd been presenting the Morrison findings to the board. I don't understand. But even as I said it, understanding was seeping in like cold water. How did you know to look for this? Because Luna from accounting mentioned something weird about expense reports this morning. She said Ryland's been pulling some creative accounting lately, especially with employee gifts. My eyes fixed on the bracelet, its sparkle now seeming less like starlight and more like sharp edges waiting to cut. Savannah, Laura's voice softened, there's more. Remember that dinner package he gave you last month, the one at Le Bernardin? The memory of that evening, the perfect wine pairings, the way Ryland had insisted on ordering every course, suddenly felt hollow. Don't tell me. Your corporate card again, but he recorded it as a client meeting. My free hand clenched into a fist. All those late nights I'd spent perfecting presentations, believing I was proving myself. All those times he'd praised my potential. positioned himself as my champion. He's been doing this for months, hasn't he? The words came out barely above a whisper. I think you need to look deeper, Laura said. This isn't just about fancy dinners and jewelry. Luna said there's a pattern, and it's bigger than just you. The morning sunlight still streamed through my office window, but it felt colder now. I stared at the Cartier box, remembering Rilan's satisfied smile as he'd handed it to me. Not pride in my accomplishments, pride in his own manipulation. What else did Luna say? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. She couldn't tell me much, but she's worried enough that she's been keeping records. And Savannah? Laura paused. She thinks someone's noticed her looking into it. Yesterday, her files were accessed without authorization. The implications hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about fraudulent gifts. This was about power, control, and something much darker lurking beneath the surface of our polished corporate world. My phone buzzed with another incoming call. Ryland's name flashed on the screen. He's calling me right now, I told Laura. Don't answer. We need to figure out what's really going on first. She hesitated. What are you going to do with the bracelet? I looked at the beautiful trap sitting on my desk, thinking of all the strings I hadn't known were attached. My fingers traced the edge of the box one last time before I snapped it shut. I'm going to find out exactly what game he's playing, I said, and then I'm going to make him wish he'd never tried to make me his pawn. The office felt different now, like a stage set, where I finally noticed the artificial lights and painted backdrops. Every casual greeting, every friendly nod. I questioned it all. How many others were caught in webs they couldn't see? I'd moved the Cartier box to my bottom drawer, but I could still feel its presence like a splinter under my skin. My corporate card sat next to my keyboard, innocent-looking, despite the betrayal it represented. Savannah? Ryland's voice made me flinch. He stood in my doorway, radiating that practiced concern that I'd once found so reassuring. You missed my call earlier. Everything okay? I forced a smile. Sorry, I was deep in the quarterly reports. The lie came easily, surprising me. Was just about to call you back. He stepped into my office, closing the door behind him. My pulse quickened. The bracelet fit all right. His eyes flickered to my bare wrists. Actually, I pulled the box from my drawer, watching his expression carefully. I wanted to talk to you about that. Something shifted in his face, so subtle I would have missed it before. Is there a problem? I received an interesting email this morning. I kept my voice light, professional. A receipt for the bracelet, charged to my corporate card. Ryland's laugh was immediate, practiced. Oh, that. Simple mix-up in accounting. I meant to have that transferred to my personal account. He leaned forward, voice dropping conspiratorially. Between us, the company's been a bit strict about gifts lately. I wanted to recognize your work without dealing with red tape. The explanation was smooth, reasonable. 3 days ago, I would have accepted it without question. But now... Like the dinner at Le Bernardin? I asked. His smile flickered. That was a client meeting. Really? Because I checked the calendar. No clients were booked that night. Silence stretched between us. Outside my office, phones rang and keyboards clicked, the mundane soundtrack to this moment of unraveling. Savannah. Ryland's voice softened to that mentoring tone I'd heard so often. I think you might be misinterpreting things. We've always had a great working relationship. I'd hate to see that damaged by some accounting confusion. Confusion? The word tasted bitter. Is that what you call unauthorized charges? Creative expense reporting? His expression hardened. Be careful with accusations like that. They have consequences. Are you threatening me? I'm advising you. He straightened, authority replacing the friendly mentor mask. You're talented, Savannah. Real potential. But potential needs guidance, protection. The corporate world isn't always kind to lone wolves. The threat was clear beneath his words. My hands trembled slightly, but I kept my voice steady. Thank you for the advice. And the bracelet, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. I held out the red box. I can't accept this. Ryland didn't take it. Instead, he smiled. a new smile, one I'd never seen before. Keep it. Consider it a reminder of everything we've built together. He moved to the door, pausing with his hand on the handle. Oh, and about the Morrison project, let's meet tomorrow to discuss some adjustments to your role. The door clicked shut behind him. I sat there, heart pounding, the Cartier box still in my outstretched hand. My phone buzzed. Laura, I just saw Rylan leaving your office, she said. Are you okay? No. My voice shook. Laura, he basically threatened my position. The Morrison project. I stopped, a horrible thought forming. Wait, the Morrison numbers. I need to check something. I pulled up the project files, scanning through spreadsheets I'd reviewed countless times. But now I was looking with new eyes, seeing patterns I'd missed before. Oh God, I whispered. What is it? The revenue projections. They're inflated, significantly. My fingers flew across the keyboard, checking more documents. These client contracts. Laura, some of these signatures look wrong. Are you saying, I think? I swallowed hard. I think I've been unknowingly presenting fraudulent data to the board. For months. Silence on the line. He's not just stealing through expense reports, I said. He's been using me to cover up something much bigger. And now that someone's asking questions... He's setting you up to take the fall, Laura finished. I stared at my computer screen, at the numbers that now seemed to mock me. All those late nights, that desperate need to prove myself, he'd used it all against me. Laura, I said, my voice hardening, I need everything Luna has, every record, every suspicious transaction, and I need it before my meeting with Rylan tomorrow. Savannah, that's dangerous. If he realizes, he already does. I looked at the Cartier box, his parting gift now feeling like a collar. But he doesn't realize one thing. What's that? I'm done being his perfect protégé. Rain drummed against the coffee shop window, matching my restless pulse. Luna sat across from me, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her untouched latte. We'd chosen this spot 3 blocks from the office, far enough to avoid familiar faces, close enough to maintain plausible deniability. I shouldn't be showing you this, Luna said, sliding a USB drive across the table. But after what happened to Melissa last year... Melissa? The name struck a chord. The senior analyst who resigned. Resigned is a nice way of putting it. Luna's voice dropped lower. She started asking questions about irregular payments. 2 weeks later, she was called into a meeting about documentation discrepancies in her reports. They gave her a choice, resign or face an internal audit. My stomach clenched. And you think Rylan? I know he did, because I processed the paperwork. Shame colored her words. I've been keeping records ever since. But he's careful. Everything has just enough legitimacy to pass a cursory check. I pocketed the drive, hyper-aware of its weight. Thank you. I know this puts you at risk. Savannah? A familiar voice cut through the cafe's ambient noise. I turned to see Remington standing there, elegant in her charcoal suit despite the rain. I thought that was you. My pulse spiked. Remington was Rylan's right hand in most projects. Had she followed us? Rem, just grabbing coffee with Luna. I forced lightness into my voice. You remember Luna from accounting? Of course. Remington's smile didn't reach her eyes. Interesting choice of venue. Bit far from the office. Sometimes you need a change of scenery, Luna said, standing abruptly. I should head back. Those expense reports won't process themselves. I watched her hurry out into the rain, praying I hadn't just exposed her. When I turned back, Remington had taken her seat. Funny thing, she said, studying me. Rylan mentioned you've been asking about expense reporting procedures. Just trying to understand the process better. I met her gaze steadily, though my hands trembled beneath the table. Really? Because he seemed concerned, you might be misinterpreting things. Did he send you to check on me? Remington's expression softened unexpectedly. No, I came to warn you. That caught me off guard. What? Listen carefully, Savannah. Tomorrow morning, IT will audit your computer. They'll find emails suggesting you've been manipulating project data. By lunch, HR will be involved. Ice spread through my veins. How do you know this? Because I've seen it before. She glanced around before continuing. 3 years ago, I was you. Rising star, dedicated worker, perfect target, the gifts, the mentoring, the gradual involvement in projects just slightly over the line. What happened? I played along. Bitterness edged her words. Became the perfect accomplice instead of the perfect scapegoat. It was that, or lose everything I'd worked for. Understanding dawned. That's why you're always at his side. Better the devil's right hand than under his boot. She stood, adjusting her blazer. You have until tomorrow morning. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. Why are you helping me? Remington paused. Because I see myself in you, and because... She hesitated. Because maybe this time, someone can actually stop him. After she left, I sat there watching rain streak down the window, mind racing. The USB drive felt heavier than ever in my pocket. My phone buzzed. Laura, where are you? She asked. I just saw Luna practically running through the lobby. Get Daniel, I said. Meet me at my place in an hour. And Laura, bring your laptop. We've got one night to save everything I've worked for. What's happening? I thought of Melissa, of Remington's bitter confession, of all the others who'd faced this choice before me. Ryland's making his move tomorrow, but this time he's picked the wrong target. Savannah, you're scaring me. Good. I stood, gathering my courage with my belongings. Because I'm done being scared. It's his turn. The rain had softened to a mist as I stepped outside. Somewhere in the building I'd called my professional home, a trap was being laid. Evidence planted, stories crafted, a narrative that would destroy everything I'd built. But Ryland had made one crucial mistake. He'd taught me too well, shown me exactly how to play this game. And now, with Luna's evidence and Remington's warning, I had something he didn't expect. I had nothing left to lose. My phone buzzed again, Ryland's name lighting up the screen. I declined the call, watching droplets race down the screen like tears. Tomorrow would change everything. The only question was, for whom? My living room had become a war room. Laura's laptop glowed beside mine on the coffee table, surrounded by empty coffee cups and takeout containers. Daniel paced behind us, his usual polished demeanor fraying at the edges. These numbers are worse than we thought, Laura said, scrolling through Luna's files. He's been cooking the books on at least 6 major projects. The Morrison deal is just the tip of the iceberg. But why risk it? Daniel stopped pacing. The company's doing well. The legitimate profits aren't enough for someone like Ryland, I finished, remembering his expensive suits, the luxury car, that vacation house he'd mentioned buying. He's been skimming for years, hiding it in inflated project costs and fake expenses. Using other people's corporate cards, Laura added, creating a paper trail that leads to everyone but him. My screen flickered with another incoming email from Ryland. Third one tonight, each subject line more urgent than the last. Daniel leaned over my shoulder. You should answer him. Keep him thinking you're still his perfect protege. No. I closed the laptop. The moment I engage, he'll start crafting a new narrative. Right now, he's off balance. Speaking of narratives, Laura turned her screen toward me. Look what I found in the encrypted files. My breath caught. On the screen was a draft email, addressed to the board, detailing concerns about my handling of the Morrison project. The date was from 3 weeks ago, long before I'd discovered anything wrong. He's been planning this for months, I whispered. There's more. Laura's voice was gentle. Remember that promotion you were up for last quarter? The one that went to Marcus instead? What about it? According to these emails, you were the board's first choice. Ryland blocked it. The revelation hit like a physical blow. All those extra hours I'd pulled, believing I just needed to prove myself more. All while he'd been actively holding me back, keeping me dependent on his mentorship. Bastard, Daniel muttered. My phone lit up, Zoe calling. I almost declined until I remembered she worked in IT. "Savannah," her voice was hushed, urgent. "You need to get to the office. Now. It's almost midnight." "They're moving faster than expected. The system audit is already running. By morning." "On my way." I grabbed my coat. "Laura, Daniel, keep digging. Forward anything crucial to my personal email before they lock me out." "You can't go alone," Laura protested. "She won't." Daniel grabbed his keys. "I know the night security team. I'll get her in." The drive was tense, rain starting up again as we pulled into the empty parking garage. Daniel's security clearance got us through the lobby, but my heart still pounded with every camera we passed. 10 minutes, he whispered as we reached my floor. "I'll keep watch." My office looked untouched, but my computer was running, the audit program silently combing through years of emails and files. I pulled out Luna's USB drive, hands shaking slightly as I began the file transfer. A shadow fell across my desk. "I had a feeling you'd come." I spun to find Remington in the doorway, her expression unreadable. "Are you here to stop me?" I asked, my finger hovering over the keyboard. "No." She stepped inside, closing the door. "I'm here to help you understand what you're really up against." She placed a folder on my desk. "Before you go nuclear, you need to see this." Inside were photos. Rylan at dinner with various executives, including several board members. Private meetings, expensive restaurants, handshakes that looked more like promises. He's not working alone, I realized. The Morrison Project, it goes all the way up. Rylan's their golden boy because he makes certain problems disappear and certain profits appear. My carefully constructed plan suddenly felt naive. So even with proof, they'll bury it, and you. Remington's eyes held something like sympathy. Unless what? Unless you have something they can't bury, something that would hurt them more than it hurts you. A new email popped up on my screen, from Laura. She'd found something in Luna's files, something about offshore accounts and board member names. "I might," I said slowly, "but I'll need help." Remington studied me for a long moment. "You understand there's no going back. Not from this." I thought of all the others who'd faced this choice, Melissa, Luna, Remington herself, each forced to decide between submission and destruction. "Going back was never an option," I said. "Not really." She nodded once, decision made. "Then let's make it count this time." My phone buzzed again, Rylan's name lighting up the screen like a warning, but this time I smiled. Let him call, let him worry. Tomorrow wouldn't go the way he planned, not even close. Morning light filtered through the office windows, but I hadn't slept. My blazer felt like armor as I walked past familiar faces, wondering which ones knew what was coming. The USB drive in my pocket might as well have been radioactive. "Savannah." Elijah's voice stopped me halfway to my desk. The senior executive rarely ventured to our floor. "A word?" His office was all mahogany and morning sun, the kind of space that screamed authority. I'd always admired it from afar. Now it felt like walking into a trap. "Rylan tells me you've been raising concerns about the Morrison Project," he said, settling behind his desk. "Just doing my due diligence." I kept my voice steady, professional. "Some discrepancies caught my attention." "Discrepancies?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You know, I remember when Rylan first recommended you for the project. She's perfect," he said. "Dedicated, thorough, maybe too thorough for her own good." The implied threat hung in the air between us. "Funny thing about thoroughness," I said. "Sometimes you find things you weren't meant to see, like offshore accounts linked to board member emails." His smile vanished. "Careful, Savannah. Some doors are better left closed." "I agree." I pulled out my phone, showing him the email I'd drafted last night. That's why I copied everything I found to 3 separate secure locations. If anything happens to me, or my position, or anyone who helped me. I let the threat hang. Elijah's face hardened. "You're playing a dangerous game." "No, I'm ending one that's destroyed too many careers and lives already." I stood, heart pounding but voice firm. Check your email in an hour. You'll want to see what I found before the board meeting. I was shaking by the time I reached my office. Laura was waiting inside. You okay? She asked. You look like you've seen a ghost. Just threatened a senior executive. I collapsed into my chair. Either I just signed my death warrant or bought us the time we need. She closed the door. Daniel found something about Melissa, the analyst who resigned. She didn't just resign. She tried to report Rylan first, to Elijah. Ice spread through my veins. The same Elijah I just threatened. It gets worse. Laura's voice dropped. 2 days after she filed the report, her entire work history was altered. Performance reviews, project documentation, everything. They erased 5 years of achievements overnight. My computer chimed. An incoming message from Remington. Meeting in conference room B, now. Bring everything. It's starting, I whispered. The conference room was eerily quiet when we arrived. Remington sat with Daniel and Luna, their faces grim. A laptop was open between them. They're moving faster than we thought, Remington said without preamble. Board meeting's been moved up to noon. They're planning to present evidence of your misconduct. But we have proof. They don't care about proof. Luna's voice shook. They care about protecting themselves. The story's already written. You're the ambitious young executive who manipulated data for personal gain. Rylan's the mentor who discovered the deception. Then we release everything, I said. All of it. The offshore accounts, the altered records. They'll bury you, Daniel cut in. Just like Melissa. No. I pulled out the USB drive. They won't, because this time we have something they didn't expect. I plugged in the drive, pulling up files Laura and I had discovered last night. Emails, transaction records, board member names linked to numbered accounts. Melissa documented everything, I explained. But she played it safe, went through proper channels. We won't make that mistake. What are you suggesting? Remington asked. We don't just expose Rylan. We expose everyone, the whole system. I met each of their eyes. But I won't ask any of you to risk. I'm in, Luna said immediately. Me too, Daniel added. Remington studied the screen, then nodded slowly. They'll come after all of us. Let them try. I straightened, feeling stronger with each ally. We have 2 hours until the board meeting. Time to remind them why you shouldn't back an honest person into a corner. My phone lit up. Rylan calling again. This time I answered. Savannah, his voice oozed concern. We need to talk about your recent behavior. Yes, we do, I cut him off. In fact, let's talk about it in front of the board. Noon work for you? Silence then. Don't do anything you'll regret. Too late. I ended the call, turning to my allies. Ready to burn it all down? 4 determined faces looked back at me. Outside, the morning sun climbed higher, counting down to noon. To truth, to justice, to war. 11:45. The conference room felt like a powder keg, each passing minute bringing us closer to detonation. Laura and Daniel were positioning laptops around the table, while Luna nervously checked and rechecked our documentation. They're calling in security, Remington announced, striding in. Extra guards posted at every entrance, and... She hesitated. Zoe from IT just got escorted out. My stomach dropped. What? Why? They found out she warned us about the audit. She's been suspended pending investigation. Another casualty, another life disrupted because of me. The weight of it all pressed down like a physical force. We can still stop, Luna whispered. Walk away. Maybe if we delete everything. It's too late for that. Daniel's voice was grim. They're already moving against us. If we back down now... The door opened. Rylan stood there, immaculate as always, flanked by 2 men I didn't recognize. Savannah. His smile was pure predator. I thought we might have a private chat before the board meeting, clear up any misunderstandings. Nothing to clear up, I said, proud of how steady my voice remained. Everything's quite clear now. Is it? He stepped closer. Because from where I stand, I see a talented young executive about to throw away a promising career. Over what? Some accounting irregularities, office politics. Over fraud, manipulation, lives destroyed. Lives built, he corrected. Every person in this room has benefited from the system you're so eager to tear down. Ask Remington about her bonus last quarter. Or Daniel about his client portfolio. I glanced at them. Neither would meet my eyes. You see? Ryland's voice softened. We're all part of the same machine, Savannah. Sometimes the gears need greasing. That's all. And Melissa, was she just a gear that needed greasing? Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Melissa made choices. Poor ones. Don't make the same mistake. Actually, a new voice said, I'd say her choices were excellent. We all turned. Melissa herself stood in the doorway, elegant and composed. Beside her was Elijah, holding a familiar red Cartier box. Interesting gift this, Elijah said, setting the box on the table. Purchased with a corporate card, logged as a client expense, then gifted to an employee who never actually received it. Just one small thread in a very tangled web. Ryland's facade cracked slightly. Elijah, whatever she's told you. She hasn't told me anything, yet. Elijah turned to me. But I believe you have something to share, Savannah. Understanding dawned. My earlier confrontation with Elijah hadn't been a threat. It had been an opportunity. A chance to prove I'd do what Melissa couldn't. Stand my ground. Everything's ready, I said, nodding to Laura. She began connecting the laptops to the conference room displays. Ryland moved suddenly, reaching for the nearest computer, but Daniel blocked his path. Don't, Daniel warned. It's over. Nothing's over, Ryland snarled. You really think they'll believe you over me? I built this department. I made all of you. And now we're unmaking you, Melissa said quietly. The door opened again. Board members began filing in, their faces a mix of confusion and concern. I caught fragments of whispered conversations, something about emergency meetings, regulatory concerns, stock prices. Last chance, Ryland said under his breath. Walk away now. Keep your career. Stay, and I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I thought of all the moments that had led here, the late nights, the praise, the careful grooming, the gifts that were really chains, the mentorship that was really manipulation. You know what your mistake was? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You taught me too well, showed me exactly how the game is played. I turned to the assembled board. Shall we begin? Ryland's mask finally shattered. He lunged for me, but security, the same guards he'd called to intimidate us, caught his arms. You have no idea what you're doing, he spat. Actually, I picked up the Cartier box, placed it deliberately in front of him. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm returning your gift. Laura started the presentation. Numbers, emails, and transaction records filled the screens. The board members' faces shifted from confusion to shock to something darker. Ryland struggled against the guards. This is all circumstantial. The offshore accounts aren't, Melissa cut in. Neither are the altered personnel records, added Luna, or the fraudulent client signatures, Daniel finished. I stood at the head of the table, surrounded by allies, not just colleagues anymore, but fellow survivors of Ryland's manipulation. Now, I addressed the board, let's talk about exactly how deep this corruption goes, because I promise you, this is just the beginning. The room fell silent except for the hum of electronics and Ryland's heavy breathing. Outside, the noon sun blazed through the windows, illuminating everything we'd kept in shadow for so long. It was time for light. The next 2 hours were a blur of revelations and denials. Board members shifted from dismissive to defensive to desperate as each layer of corruption emerged. Through it all, I remained standing, my voice steady as I guided them through years of systematic fraud. These signatures, I highlighted a contract on the screen, were forged after the clients had already rejected the terms. The real agreements show completely different numbers. That's impossible, one board member protested. Our audit team was deliberately understaffed and misdirected, Melissa cut in. I have emails proving it. Ryland sat silent now, his earlier rage replaced by calculating observation. That scared me more than his outburst had. A cornered predator was most dangerous when quiet. Even if these allegations are true, another board member said, going public would devastate shareholder value. Thousands of employees would suffer. They're already suffering, Luna spoke up, her usual timidity gone. Every person whose career was destroyed, every project manipulated, every client deceived, the damage is already done. What do you want? Elijah asked quietly. All eyes turned to me. The question hit harder than expected. What did I want? Revenge? Justice? The truth was both simpler and more complicated. I want accountability, I said. Real change, not just scapegoats and cover-ups. Starting with a full external audit and... I admit everything. Ryland's voice cut through the room like a blade. He stood slowly, straightening his tie. The fraud, the manipulation, all of it, he continued. I acted alone, used my position to deceive everyone, including the board. My pulse quickened. This wasn't surrender. This was strategy. These dedicated employees, he gestured to us, discovered my schemes and bravely brought them to light. They deserve commendation, not punishment. The board members exchanged glances. A perfect solution was being offered. One villain, a clean narrative, minimal disruption. No, I said. Ryland's eyes narrowed. Savannah, I'm confessing, giving you what you wanted. What I want is the truth, all of it. I turned to the board. He's offering himself as a sacrifice to protect the system that enabled him. But look at these authorization codes. Look at who signed off on the offshore transfers. Careful, one board member warned. You're making accusations. I'm stating facts, I shot back. Facts documented in files that, as of an hour ago, are in the hands of 3 separate law firms. If anything happens to anyone in this room, if anyone faces retaliation, those files go public. Silence fell. I could feel Laura and Daniel's tension, Luna's fear, Melissa's quiet support. Everything hinged on this moment. Ryland moved with startling speed, grabbing my arm. You ungrateful... Several things happened at once. Security stepped forward. Daniel moved to intervene, but it was Remington who reached us first, her hand closing around Ryland's wrist. Let her go, she said quietly, or I release the recordings. Recordings? Ryland's grip loosened. Of every private conversation in your office for the past year, including some very interesting calls with board members. She smiled coldly. You taught me too well, too. He released me, stepping back. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Here's what's going to happen. I addressed the room. A full investigation, external auditors, complete transparency. Anyone who cooperates gets consideration. Anyone who doesn't, I let the threat hang. You're destroying decades of work, Ryland said hoarsely. Everything we built was built on lies, I finished. And now we're going to rebuild it right. The board members were already on their phones, damage control instincts kicking in. But it was too late. The truth was out, documented, and distributed too widely to bury. Security, Elijah said quietly, please escort Mr. Gill to his office. He'll need to pack his things. As Ryland was led out, he paused beside me. I made you, he whispered. No, I replied. You tried to break me. There's a difference. The room slowly emptied until only our small group remained. Laura hugged me fiercely. Daniel clapped my shoulder. Luna looked like she might faint from relief. What happens now? Melissa asked. I looked around at these people who'd risked everything for truth, for justice, for each other. The morning sun had given way to afternoon shadows, but the air felt clearer somehow. Lighter. Now, I said, we fix what's broken, together. Remington picked up the Cartier box, that first symbol of manipulation that had started it all. Without a word, she dropped it in the trash. where it had always belonged. The evening sun painted long shadows across my office as I packed the last of my personal items. Not because I was leaving, quite the opposite. Tomorrow I'd move into a larger space on the executive floor, part of my new role leading the company's ethics and compliance overhaul. A soft knock drew my attention. Laura stood in the doorway, holding a familiar red box. "Found this in the conference room trash," she said. "Thought you might want it after all." I took the Cartier box, its weight different now, no longer a collar or a trap, just an expensive reminder. "Actually," I said, "I have a better idea." The women's shelter was quiet at this hour, just a few staff members at the front desk. The director, Sarah, greeted us warmly. "Ms. Ellis, we weren't expecting you until next week's board meeting." "This isn't an official visit." I handed her the box. "Consider it a donation. Should cover a few months of operational costs." Sarah's eyes widened as she opened it. Are you sure?" "Very," I smiled. Sometimes the best way to heal is to turn something painful into something good. Walking back to my car, Laura linked her arm through mine. "You know, when this all started, I was terrified for you. Now I'm just proud." "It's not over yet," I reminded her. "The external auditors are still digging. There will be more revelations, more resistance." But not alone this time. She was right. My phone buzzed with updates from our newly formed oversight committee. Daniel had uncovered 3 more suspicious projects. Luna was reconstructing years of altered records. Melissa was developing new compliance protocols. Even Remington, despite her past compromises, was proving invaluable in identifying vulnerable points in the system. Another message popped up, from Elijah. "Board approved your proposal. Full immunity for whistleblowers. It's official." "Good news?" Laura asked, noting my smile. "The best kind. The kind that protects people." Back in the parking garage, I spotted a familiar luxury car, Ryland's, still in his reserved spot. Tomorrow it would be gone, along with all the other trappings of his carefully constructed facade. "You never told me," Laura said as we reached my car. "That night when you found the receipt, did you know then what you were starting?" I thought back to that moment, the first crack in my perfect mentor's mask. "No, I just knew I couldn't be part of the lie anymore. Even if it cost you everything. Some prices are worth paying." I unlocked my car, then paused. Though I never expected to gain more than I lost, Laura hugged me goodbye, heading to her own car. Alone, I sat in the gathering darkness, thinking of all the moments that had led here, the gifts that were really tests, the praise that was really poison, the choices that seemed impossible until they were made. My phone lit up one last time. An unknown number. "Hello?" "Savannah," Ryland's voice stripped of its usual polish. "I just wanted you to know, I meant what I said, about your potential. I know you did. That's what made you dangerous. We could have done great things together." "No," I said firmly. "You would have done things through me. There's a difference." A long pause. "You really think you can change things? The system's bigger than any of us." "Maybe, but doing nothing changes nothing." "Careful," he said softly. "That kind of idealism can get expensive. Some things are worth the cost." I started my car. "Goodbye, Rylan." I ended the call before he could respond. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, new attempts to maintain the status quo. But tonight, driving home through the city lights, I felt something I hadn't experienced since finding that first receipt. Peace. Not because the fight was over. It was just beginning. Not because victory was certain. Nothing ever was. But because I'd finally learned the truth about power. It doesn't lie in the ability to manipulate others, but in the courage to stand firm when they try to manipulate you. The Cartier bracelet would help women escape their own toxic situations. Ryland's carefully constructed system was crumbling, and I was exactly where I needed to be. Not a protégé or a victim, or even a victor. Just someone who chose truth over comfort, right over easy, and found herself stronger for it. Sometimes the most valuable gifts are the ones we give ourselves, like the power to say no, the strength to stand alone, and the wisdom to recognize that, in the end, we rarely are.
I knew something was off the moment Aston's secretary called to reschedule our meeting for the third time. Not a cancellation, a brief postponement that pushed our 10 a.m. slot to 4:30 p.m. when the office would be nearly empty. Still, I straightened my blazer and practiced my smile in the elevator's reflective doors. This promotion was 5 years in the making. The 52nd floor always gave me a rush. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Manhattan's skyline, that rarefied air of success. I'd clawed my way up from assistant to senior manager, surviving 2 restructures and countless late nights. Today was supposed to be my coronation as director of operations. "Natasha, come in, come in." Aston's voice carried that practiced warmth he reserved for clients and board members. He gestured to the chair across from his desk, rather than the couch where we usually had our one-on-ones. First red flag. "Sorry about the scheduling chaos. Merger discussions are eating up my calendar." He loosened his tie slightly. "Drink? I'm having one." "I'm good, thanks." I needed clarity, not scotch. "Suit yourself." He poured 2 fingers anyway, ice clinking against crystal. "So, big day." My heart quickened. "I appreciate you making time." The team's quarterly results exceeded projections by 17%, and the Singapore expansion is ahead of schedule. "About that." Aston swirled his drink, not meeting my eyes. "The board and I have been discussing the director position extensively." I leaned forward. "I've prepared a transition plan. I can hit the ground running Monday." "Your dedication is precisely why this is difficult." He finally looked at me. "We're bringing in someone from outside." The words didn't register at first. "I'm sorry?" "Marcus Kelly, from Brightline. He starts next month." My mouth went dry. "Brightline? They're half our size, and their operations are. What they lack in scale, they make up for in innovation." Aston's smile didn't reach his eyes. "The board wants fresh perspective. 5 years. 5 years of missed birthdays, canceled vacations, and 3 a.m. crisis calls. I restructured our entire supply chain. I delivered 20% cost reduction while improving delivery times. And that's why we value you exactly where you are." He leaned back. "You're exceptional at execution, Natasha, but director level requires a different skill set." "Different how?" My voice had gone dangerously quiet. "Strategic vision, leadership presence." He gestured vaguely. "Marcus brings a certain gravitas to the role." Gravitas. The coded language wasn't lost on me. Marcus Kelly was 42, former college athlete, Wharton MBA. I was 32, state school, worked through college waiting tables. "I see." I didn't. "And my compensation adjustment?" "We're prepared to offer a 10% increase, plus stock options. Half what the director role would pay." "That's generous." "You're disappointed." He sighed like this was harder for him than me. "Look, you're valuable to us, but sometimes women in this industry need to adjust expectations." My skin went hot, then cold. "Excuse me?" "I'm being straight with you because I respect you." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "The executive floor has a certain dynamic. The board has concerns about how you'd handle that pressure." "I've been handling pressure since I started here." "Different kind of pressure." He smiled in a way that made my stomach turn. "Look, you're smart, capable, gorgeous, obviously, but director meetings get heated, decisions get personal, men at that level play rough." I stared at him, processing what he was really saying. "I'm doing you a favor." He finished his scotch. "The board questioned if you have the temperament. I convinced them to keep you on with a raise." "Because I'm too emotional?" The words tasted bitter. Because you're too valuable where you are. He checked his watch. Think of it as a stepping stone. Give it another year or two. Another year or two. On top of the 5 I'd already given. And if Marcus fails? He won't. Aston stood, signaling our meeting was over. He comes highly recommended. By whom, I wanted to ask. Instead, I stood, legs wooden. Thank you for your candor. That's what I appreciate about you, Natasha. You take feedback well. He walked me to the door, hand hovering near the small of my back without quite touching it. Most women would get emotional. I stopped at the threshold. Most people would when their career hits a ceiling for reasons unrelated to performance. His smile tightened. This isn't personal, isn't it? I met his gaze directly. What exactly did you tell the board about my temperament, Aston? Nothing that isn't obvious. His voice dropped. You're ambitious. Sometimes that comes across as aggressive in women. I nodded slowly, reaching into my pocket. My fingers closed around my phone. One more question. Did Marcus negotiate his compensation package? Of course, that's what leaders do. Interesting. I slid my thumb across my phone screen, stopping the recording I'd started the moment his secretary had called. 47 minutes of crystal clear audio. Have a good weekend. The flash of uncertainty in his eyes was almost worth the promotion I'd never get. Almost. I sat in the corner booth of Café Lucerne, my usual Friday spot, but nothing felt usual anymore. The recording played through my earbuds for the 4th time, each replay making my coffee grow colder and my anger burn hotter. Sometimes women in this industry need to adjust expectations. My finger jabbed the pause button. A couple at the next table glanced over, probably noticing my white-knuckle grip on my phone. I forced my hand to relax and took a sip of lukewarm coffee. My phone buzzed with a text from Jude. How'd the big meeting go? Champagne tonight? I typed back. Rain check. We'll call tomorrow. I couldn't face my brother's inevitable disappointment on my behalf, or worse, his practical advice about playing the long game. Jude had always been the voice of reason, the one who'd talk me down from professional ledges. But this wasn't about impatience or entitlement. This was about watching a less qualified man walk into the role I'd shaped. More coffee? The waitress appeared with a pot. Please. I removed my earbuds. And maybe something stronger if you've got it. She smiled sympathetically. Bad day? Bad career trajectory. Been there. She refilled my cup. We don't have a liquor license, but the bakery next door makes rum cake that'll knock you sideways. I laughed despite myself. I'll stick with caffeine for now. As she walked away, my phone lit up with an email notification. Zuriel from Legal. Subject line, got a minute? Zuriel and I weren't close, but we'd worked together on contract negotiations. He was quiet, methodical, and kept to himself. I opened the message. Natasha, heard about the director decision. Unfair doesn't begin to cover it. If you have time, there's something you should know. Z. I stared at the screen, curiosity temporarily displacing anger. I typed back, I'm at Café Lucerne now if you're free. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, 15 minutes. While waiting, I scrolled through LinkedIn, masochistically searching for Marcus Kelly. His profile was exactly what I expected. Professional headshot with perfect teeth. Harvard undergrad before Wharton. Recommendations from industry heavyweights. Nothing in his experience suggested he could handle our operations complexity, but everything about him screamed executive material. Is this seat taken? I looked up to find Zuriel standing there, leather messenger bag slung across his chest, expression unreadable behind wire-rimmed glasses. All yours. I gestured to the empty bench across from me. He slid in, ordered black coffee when the waitress returned, then leaned forward. I shouldn't be telling you this. That's a promising start. I mean it, Natasha. This conversation never happened. I nodded, suddenly alert. Understood. He glanced around before continuing. Marcus isn't the first external hire for that position. There was another candidate 2 months ago, Eliza Winters from Meridian Group. What happened? She accepted, then withdrew a week later. Cited personal reasons. His fingers made air quotes. And 3 days before she withdrew, she had a private dinner with Aston and Charlotte from HR. My stomach tightened. Charlotte had been with the company forever, a fixture in human resources who prided herself on managing executive transitions. How do you know this? I handle the executive expense accounts. Zuriel's voice dropped further. The dinner was at Aston's club, $500 bottle of wine, listed as candidate recruitment. That doesn't prove anything, I said, though my instincts were screaming otherwise. No, but this might. He slid his phone across the table, open to an email thread. Charlotte accidentally copied me on this exchange with Aston after Eliza withdrew. I scanned the messages, my heart pounding harder with each line. Charlotte. Situation handled as discussed. Candidate cited family concerns. Aston. Expensive lesson. Next time we vet for flexibility earlier. Charlotte. Already adjusting the profile. We'll focus on candidates who understand our culture. Aston. Good. The board doesn't need to know details. What the hell does flexibility mean? I whispered. Zuriel reclaimed his phone. I have my theories. Share them. Eliza has 2 kids. Marcus has none. Eliza asked about work-life balance in her final interview. Marcus apparently told Aston he lives for the job. The coffee turned sour in my stomach. That's discrimination. It's unprovable discrimination, Zuriel corrected. And there's more. You're not the only internal candidate who's been passed over. Diane in marketing, Amara in finance. All women, I finished. All women who pushed back on something. Diane questioned the budget cuts to her department. Amara flagged accounting irregularities. I sat back, processing. Why are you telling me this? Zuriel's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Because I've watched you rebuild this company's operations from the ground up while Aston takes credit. Because my sister faced the same glass ceiling at her firm until someone finally spoke up. And what exactly am I supposed to do with this information? That's up to you. He stood, leaving cash for his untouched coffee. But if you decide to do something, I might have more you could use. After he left, I played the recording one more time, hearing it differently now. This wasn't just about me. It was systematic. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Natasha, it's Zlata from Client Services. Charlotte asked me to schedule your adjustment meeting for Monday. Is something wrong with your job? Zlata, 28, brilliant, ambitious, just like I'd been. I stared at her message, something hardening inside me. I thought of all the nights I'd worked until midnight, the promotions I'd been passed over for, the comments about my aggressive communication style. I picked up my phone and called Milton Emerson at the Times. We'd met at an industry conference last year, exchanged cards. He'd said to call if I ever had a story. This wasn't just my story anymore. The sky darkened as I waited outside the coffee shop, heavy clouds gathering like my thoughts. Milton was 15 minutes late. I checked my phone again. No messages, no calls. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should just take the raise, keep my head down, play the game like everyone else. A black sedan pulled up and Milton emerged, raindrops already speckling his jacket. He spotted me and waved, hurrying over. Natasha, sorry I'm late. Editor meeting ran long. He extended his hand. Appreciate you reaching out. We ducked inside just as the rain began in earnest, claiming a corner table away from other patrons. Milton was older than I remembered, mid-50s with salt and pepper hair and the intense focus that marked career journalists. "So," he said after ordering coffee, "your message mentioned workplace discrimination. You have evidence?" I placed my phone on the table between us. "I recorded my boss explaining why I wasn't getting promoted." His eyebrows rose. "Is New York a one-party consent state for recordings?" "Yes, I checked." "Smart." He nodded approvingly. "Mind if I listen?" I pushed the phone toward him, watching his face as he put in earbuds. His expression remained neutral, but I caught the slight narrowing of his eyes at certain points, the almost imperceptible shake of his head. When he finished, he removed the earbuds carefully. "That's explicit. And it's not just me." I leaned forward. "I've learned there's a pattern. Other women passed over. An external female candidate who mysteriously withdrew." "Can you prove the pattern?" "I have a source in legal. He has documentation." Milton's eyes sharpened. Would this source go on record? The question pulled me up short. Would Zuriel risk his job? Would I be asking him to? "I don't know," I admitted, "but there must be others who've experienced the same thing." "Finding them is the challenge." Milton tapped his fingers on the table. "HR departments are excellent at making these issues disappear one by one. Settlements with NDAs, quiet exits, gaslighting. So what are you saying? There's no story? I'm saying we need more. Your recording is compelling, but it's one incident. Corporate PR will spin it as a misunderstanding, a disgruntled employee." My stomach sank. So I just accept it? Let them keep doing this? "No." Milton's voice hardened. "We build a stronger case, find others willing to speak, even anonymously, get documentation of the pattern. And if I can do that, then we have a story that could change things, not just at your company, but potentially across the industry." He paused. "But Natasha, you need to understand what you're risking. Once this goes public, your career there is over." "It's already over," I said quietly. "They've made that clear." Milton studied me for a moment. "There's something else you should consider. These stories get ugly. The company will dig into your past, look for anything to discredit you. Are you prepared for that?" The question hit harder than I expected. My mind flashed to the anxiety medication in my bathroom cabinet, the therapy sessions after my last breakup, the time I'd lost my temper in a meeting 2 years ago. "I'm not perfect," I said finally, "but I'm right about this. Being right isn't always enough." His tone was gentle but firm. "Think it through. Meanwhile, I'll make some discreet inquiries about your company's history." We parted with a plan to reconnect in 3 days. As I stepped outside, the rain had intensified, drumming against the awning. I hadn't brought an umbrella. "Need a ride?" Milton offered, car service app already open on his phone. "I'm good. I live close." I zipped my jacket. "Thanks for meeting me." "Natasha," he hesitated. "Whatever you decide, document everything from now on. They'll be watching you." His words followed me through the rain, a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. My apartment felt emptier than usual that night. I paced the living room, phone in hand, debating whether to call Jude. My brother had always been my sounding board, but he was also pragmatic to a fault. He'd tell me to focus on finding another job, not fighting a battle I couldn't win. The knock at my door startled me. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw Zuriel, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. "Sorry to show up unannounced," he said when I opened the door, "but we need to talk." I let him in, noting the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes darted around my apartment. "What's wrong?" "Charlotte called me into her office today." He removed his glasses, cleaning them nervously. "Asked if I'd been in contact with you." My pulse quickened. "What did you say?" That we occasionally work together on contracts, nothing more. He replaced his glasses. Natasha, they're already suspicious. Someone saw us at the cafe. That doesn't prove anything. It doesn't have to. They're watching the email servers, monitoring communications. He lowered his voice despite us being alone. I think they know about the recording. How could they possibly? Aston's assistant. She was at her desk when you left his office. Maybe she noticed something. I sank onto my couch. So what now? Now you need to be extremely careful. Zuriel sat beside me. And you need to know something else. I can't be your source anymore. What? Why? Because I have 2 kids and a mortgage. His voice cracked slightly. And because Charlotte mentioned budget cuts in legal during our conversation. It wasn't subtle. The weight of what I was up against suddenly felt crushing. They're threatening you. Not explicitly. They never do. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. I want to help, but I understand. And I did, even as disappointment flooded me. Family comes first. We sat in silence for a moment, rain pattering against the windows. There is one thing, he said finally, reaching into his bag. He pulled out a USB drive. Everything I have, email threads, expense reports, exit interviews that never made it to file. I'm not your source, but maybe this can help you find others who might be willing to speak. I stared at the small device, understanding its significance. Zuriel, if they find out, they won't, not if you're careful. He stood to leave. Just promise me something. What? Make it count. After he left, I held the USB drive like it was made of glass. The rain outside had transformed into a proper storm, thunder rolling across the city. I plugged the drive into my laptop and began to read. By midnight, I knew exactly what I was fighting, and who else might help me fight it. Monday morning arrived with that peculiar clarity that follows a weekend of little sleep and intense focus. I'd spent hours combing through Zuriel's files, connecting dots, making lists of names, women who'd left the company after being passed over, employees who'd filed complaints that mysteriously disappeared. The elevator dinged at the 38th floor. I stepped out, coffee in hand, expression carefully neutral. Act normal. Don't give them anything. Natasha! Zlata waved from her desk, bright-eyed despite the early hour. I've been trying to reach you all weekend. Sorry, I was unplugged. I smiled, hoping it looked genuine. What's up? She lowered her voice. Charlotte rescheduled your meeting for this morning, 9:30. She said it's important. My stomach tightened. Thanks for the heads up. Is everything okay? Genuine concern filled her eyes. People are talking about restructuring, and your name keeps coming up. I hesitated, studying her. Zlata had joined the company just 18 months ago, brilliant and eager. She reminded me of myself before disillusionment set in, before I learned how the game was really played. Everything's fine, I lied. Just corporate politics. She didn't look convinced. If you need anything, I know, thanks. I squeezed her shoulder as I passed, guilt gnawing at me. If I went forward with this, the fallout wouldn't just affect me. At my desk, I found an email from Charlotte confirming our meeting. The subject line read, Performance Discussion, Confidential, Classic HR Setup for a Warning or Termination. They were moving faster than I'd anticipated. I had just enough time to forward several key documents from Zuriel's files to my personal email before heading to Charlotte's office. Insurance, in case today went sideways. Charlotte's assistant waved me in without looking up. Inside, I found not just Charlotte but Aston as well, both seated at her small conference table. My pulse quickened. Natasha? Charlotte smiled warmly, too warmly. Thanks for making time. Please sit. I took the chair facing both of them, back to the door. A deliberate power move on their part. We wanted to check in after Friday's discussion, Aston began, all concerned professionalism. I sensed you were disappointed. That's one word for it. Charlotte leaned forward. We understand career setbacks can be difficult, but we see this as an opportunity for growth, not a limitation. Growth. I kept my voice even. Into what, exactly? We've been discussing your future here, Charlotte continued, and we have a proposal that might interest you. Aston slid a folder across the table. A lateral move to our Singapore office, leading the expansion you've been working on. I didn't touch the folder. Singapore. It's an exciting opportunity, Charlotte enthused. Same compensation package we discussed Friday, plus relocation benefits. When would this start? I asked, already knowing the answer. Ideally next month. Aston smiled. We need someone who understands the operations intimately. Someone they could ship 6,000 miles away. Someone who wouldn't be around to make noise when Marcus took over the role I'd built. I'm flattered, I said carefully, but my life is here, my family. Of course we understand that. Charlotte's voice oozed sympathy. Take the weekend to think it over, but we will need an answer by Friday. And if I decline? A brief silence. Then we'll need to reevaluate your current role, Aston said finally. With the new leadership coming in, there may be redundancies. There it was, accept exile or face elimination. I see. I stood, leaving the folder untouched. I'll consider it. As I reached the door, Charlotte called after me. Oh, Natasha, I almost forgot. The company is updating our confidentiality policies. Legal will be sending around new agreements for everyone to sign. I turned back, meeting her gaze. Everyone? Senior management first. Her smile never reached her eyes. By end of day, please. Message received. They're trying to bury you, Jude said that evening, pacing my living room. I'd finally called him, needing my brother's perspective even if I didn't follow his advice. Or ship me off to Singapore. I poured more wine into both our glasses. Same difference. It's constructive dismissal, Nat. They're hoping you'll quit so they don't have to fire you and risk a lawsuit. I know what they're doing. I took a long sip. The question is what I'm going to do. Jude stopped pacing. You're not seriously considering fighting this? These people played dirty. So I've discovered. I opened my laptop, showing him the files. Look at this, 5 women in 3 years, all pushed out after raising concerns. Settlements with NDAs. Aston's expenses showing business dinners with female employees half his age. Jude scanned the screen, expression darkening. Where did you get this? Does it matter? It matters if it was obtained illegally. His lawyer instincts kicked in. Nat, if you got this through unauthorized access, I didn't steal anything, I snapped. It was given to me by someone concerned about the pattern. Someone who could lose their job. Someone who already backed out. I closed the laptop. But there are others, Jude. Women who left, who might talk if approached carefully. He sat beside me, concern etched on his face. And you're going to be the one to approach them? Put yourself at the center of this? Someone has to. Why you? His voice softened. Why not find another job, one worthy of your talents, and leave this place in your rear view? The question hung between us. Why was I doing this? For justice, revenge, to prove something? Because next time it'll be Zlata, I said finally, or some other woman who works twice as hard, only to hit the same wall. Nothing changes if we all just walk away. Jude studied me for a long moment. You know I'll support you whatever you decide, but promise me you'll be careful. These corporate types, they protect their own. I know. I squeezed his hand. That's why I need to talk to someone who wasn't protected. After Jude left, I opened my laptop again. staring at a name that had appeared repeatedly in the files. Diana Vega, former marketing director, left abruptly last year after filing a complaint against Aston. Her settlement included an NDA, but according to the files, she'd initially refused to sign. I found her on LinkedIn, currently freelancing, based in Brooklyn. My finger hovered over the message button. Once I reached out, there would be no turning back. Charlotte's warning about the confidentiality agreement echoed in my mind. They were already moving to silence me. I clicked connect and began typing. Diana, you don't know me, but we have something in common. I think it's time someone spoke up. Send. Diana chose a crowded brunch spot in Williamsburg, the kind of place where conversations disappear into the ambient noise. I spotted her immediately. Sharp bob, oversized sunglasses, shoulders tense with vigilance. She didn't remove the glasses even after sliding into the booth across from me. I almost didn't come, she said without preamble. Messaging me was risky. For both of us, I acknowledged. Thank you for meeting anyway. She studied me from behind dark lenses. Your message said you work at Pinnacle. Marketing? Operations. Senior manager. For now. A knowing smile flickered across her face. Let me guess. You were promised something they didn't deliver. Director position, given to an external male candidate instead. Diana removed her sunglasses finally, revealing tired eyes. Tale as old as time. What makes your situation different from the dozen other women they've done this to? I recorded Aston explaining why I wasn't director material. I leaned forward, and I have documentation of a pattern. Her posture changed subtly. What kind of documentation? Email threads, HR complaints that disappeared, settlement details. Including mine? Her voice sharpened. Yes? She glanced around the restaurant, then back at me. You realize I signed an NDA. I know. Then why am I here, Natasha? I took a deep breath. Because before you signed, you fought. Harder than anyone else, according to the files. You wanted something beyond money. Diana's laugh held no humor. I wanted accountability, systemic change. She stirred her untouched coffee. Instead, I got a check and a legally binding promise to shut up forever. What if you weren't alone this time? I pulled out my phone, showing her a list. 3 other women are willing to talk, NDA or not. With your help, we could find more. And do what exactly? Class action? Media exposure? She shook her head. They'll bury you in legal fees before you ever see a courtroom. I have a journalist interested, Milton Emerson from the Times. That caught her attention. Emerson? He broke the Westlake Industries story last year. Yes, but he needs more sources willing to go on record. Diana was quiet for a long moment. You know what happens to whistleblowers, right? Best case, you're blacklisted in the industry. Worst case, they destroy your reputation completely. I know the risks. Do you? She leaned forward. When I filed my complaint, they started rumors that I was unstable, that I'd made advances toward Aston and turned vindictive when rejected. Former colleagues, friends, stopped returning my calls. My stomach tightened. I'm sorry that happened to you. It wasn't just me. Every woman who's challenged them has been systematically discredited. Her eyes held mine. Are you prepared for that? The question hung between us. Was I? I thought about Zlata's admiring glances, my professional reputation built over years, Jude's concern. I have to be, I said finally, because it won't stop with me. Diana studied me for a long moment. You remind me of myself a year ago, before they broke me. You don't seem broken to me, a ghost of a smile. Good act, isn't it? She sighed. I can't go on record. My NDA is ironclad, and I've rebuilt my life. But, I can connect you with others. women who might be willing to speak. She pulled out her phone. And I can tell you things that won't appear in any documentation. For the next hour, Diana painted a picture more disturbing than anything in Zuriel's files. A boys' club mentality that extended beyond Aston to the entire executive floor. Retreats where female employees were expected to socialize after hours. Performance reviews that hinged on cultural fit rather than results. The Singapore offer, I said suddenly, did they try that with you too? Diana's expression confirmed it before she spoke. Hong Kong in my case, same playbook, export the problem. As we parted, she gripped my arm. Whatever you do, don't sign anything they put in front of you. No new confidentiality agreements, no amended contracts. Nothing. I won't. And Natasha? Her voice softened. Watch your back, literally. Don't be alone with any of them. I was still processing Diana's warnings when I returned to the office that afternoon. The floor was unusually quiet for a Tuesday. As I approached my desk, Zlata hurried over, eyes wide. Where have you been? She whispered. Charlotte's been looking for you everywhere. I had a meeting off-site. What's going on? I don't know exactly, but... She glanced around nervously. Marcus was here earlier, with IT. They were at your desk. My blood went cold. My computer? They said something about a security audit. She bit her lip. Natasha, I heard them mention your email activity. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meeting room C now. Z. Zuriel. My pulse quickened. I need to go, I told Zlata. If anyone asks, you're in the quarterly planning session. I know. She squeezed my hand. Be careful. Meeting room C was tucked away in a rarely used corner of the floor. Zuriel was already inside, pacing. They know, he said the moment I closed the door. It did a sweep of all senior management communications this morning. They found your forwards to your personal email. How bad? Bad enough. They're building a case for corporate espionage. His voice shook slightly. Aston's called an emergency executive meeting for 4 o'clock. To discuss me? To discuss your termination. He ran a hand through his hair. And possible legal action. The room seemed to tilt slightly. They're going to sue me? They're going to try to scare you into silence. Zuriel checked his watch. You have 2 hours before that meeting ends. Get whatever you need from your desk and go. Don't come back tomorrow. But that's Natasha. His eyes met mine. This isn't a negotiation anymore. They're coming for you. Today. As if on cue, my phone lit up with an email from Charlotte. Please see me immediately regarding a serious policy violation. Go, Zuriel urged. Now. I left through the service elevator, heart pounding against my ribs. In the lobby, I texted Milton. They found out. Moving forward now. How soon can we meet? His response came seconds later. My office, 1 hour. The battle lines were drawn. There would be no going back. Rain pounded the windows of Milton's office, the sky darkening prematurely despite it being only 4 in the afternoon. I sat across from him, watching as he reviewed the materials I'd brought, the recording, Zuriel's files, notes from my conversation with Diana. This is substantial, he said finally, looking up. More than I expected. Is it enough? My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. For a preliminary story, yes. He leaned back in his chair. But you understand what happens once we publish? There's no middle ground here. They'll come at you with everything they have. They already are. I showed him the texts I'd received in the past hour. First from Charlotte demanding my immediate return, then from Aston himself, his tone shifting from professional concern to thinly veiled threats. Milton read them silently. Have you spoken with an attorney? My brother's a lawyer. He's drawing up a preemptive response. I rubbed my temples, fighting a growing headache. But legally, I'm vulnerable. I did forward company documents to my personal email, which complicates things. Milton tapped his pen against his desk. They'll claim you stole proprietary information. Try to make the story about your actions rather than theirs. So what do? We move quickly. He checked his watch. I can have a draft ready by morning. We'll need statements from your other sources tonight. My phone buzzed again. Jude. Where are you? Call me ASAP. I need to take this, I told Milton, stepping into the hallway. Jude answered on the first ring. Nat, listen carefully. Aston's legal team just contacted my firm. They're filing for an emergency injunction. My stomach dropped. Against what? Against you disclosing any company information to anyone, including the press. His voice was tight with tension. They're claiming breach of contract, theft of trade secrets, and defamation. That's ridiculous. This isn't about trade secrets. It doesn't matter. It's a scare tactic, but an effective one. If a judge grants the injunction, you'll be legally barred from speaking to Milton or anyone else about Pinnacle. How soon? They're requesting an emergency hearing tomorrow morning. Jude paused. Nat, they're serious. The complaint includes a demand for damages, 7 figures. The hallway seemed to narrow around me. 7 figures, more money than I'd ever see in my lifetime. What do I do? Come to my office, now. We need to prepare a response. I ended the call and leaned against the wall, suddenly lightheaded. This was moving faster than I'd anticipated, spiraling beyond my control. When I returned to Milton's office, he was already on the phone, his expression grave. He held up a finger, finished his conversation, then turned to me. That was my editor. His voice was carefully neutral. Pinnacle's PR team just reached out. They're claiming you're under investigation for corporate espionage and attempting to blackmail executives. That's absurd. It's predictable. Milton's eyes were sympathetic but direct. They're trying to discredit you before the story breaks. Can they stop the story? Not if we have corroboration from multiple sources. He hesitated, but the legal threats complicate things. My editor wants to be certain we're on solid ground. My phone buzzed yet again. Unknown number. Natasha? It's Zlata. They just escorted me out of the building. They're saying I helped you access confidential files. My blood went cold. What? That's not true. I know that. Her voice trembled, but security went through my computer, and apparently I accessed HR records last month for that project Charlotte assigned me. They're saying I had no authorization. Zlata, I'm so sorry. They made me sign something before I left. I didn't know what else to do. She was crying now. I can't lose this job, Natasha. My visa? I understand. It's okay. But it wasn't. Nothing about this was okay. After calming Zlata as best I could, I turned back to Milton, my resolve wavering for the first time. They're going after people close to me, I said quietly, a junior employee who did nothing wrong. Milton nodded grimly. Standard intimidation tactic. They're showing you the collateral damage you're causing. It's working? I sank into a chair. I never wanted anyone else hurt by this. That's what they're counting on. He leaned forward. This is the moment most people back down. Take the settlement they'll inevitably offer. Sign the NDA. And if I don't, then we push forward. But I need you certain, Natasha. Once we publish, there's no going back. My phone lit up again. Aston, this has gone far enough. Meet me tonight, 8 p.m., The Gable. Just you and me. We can resolve this like professionals. I stared at the message, something cold and clear crystallizing inside me. He wants to meet, I told Milton, alone. That's a trap. Of course it is. I stood, decision made. But it's also an opportunity. For what? To get him on record one more time. I held up my phone. If he's willing to meet, he's willing to talk. And if he's willing to talk, he might say something we can use. Milton nodded slowly. But it's risky. He'll be prepared this time. So will I. I texted Jude. Meeting Aston at 8. Need you to be nearby. Then to Aston. I'll be there. The rain intensified outside, sheets of water cascading down the windows. A storm was coming, in more ways than one. You don't have to do this, Milton said quietly. Yes, I do. I gathered my things, because if I don't stand my ground now, I never will. As I left his office, my phone buzzed with a final message from Zoriel. Whatever happens next, remember why you started this. It was never just about you. He was right. It wasn't just about me. It was about Zlata, Diana, and every woman who would come after us. The thought steadied me as I stepped into the rain, heading toward a confrontation that would change everything. The gable occupied the top floor of a midtown high-rise, all dark wood and amber lighting, the kind of place where deals were sealed with handshakes and knowing glances. I arrived 20 minutes early, my hair still damp from the rain, heart hammering against my ribs. Ms. Lynch, the host greeted me by name. Mr. George is already here, private room in the back. Of course he was early, controlling the environment, setting the stage. I need a moment. I gestured toward the restroom. Inside, I gripped the marble counter, studying my reflection. The woman staring back looked composed, but I could see the tension in her jaw, the wariness in her eyes. I touched the small recording device Jude had given me, securely clipped inside my jacket pocket, then checked my phone one last time. Jude. In the bar downstairs. Text if you need me. Milton. Remember, you're not there to defend yourself. You're there to let him reveal himself. I took a deep breath and walked out. The private dining room was separated from the main restaurant by frosted glass doors. Aston stood as I entered, his smile practiced and confident. No sign of the man who'd threatened legal action hours earlier. Natasha, thank you for coming. He gestured to the chair across from him. A bottle of expensive scotch sat between two glasses on the table. Drink? No, thank you. I remained standing. Let's skip the pleasantries, Aston. Why am I here? Please sit. His tone hardened slightly. We have matters to discuss. I sat, keeping my back straight, hands visible on the table. Such as the lawsuit your lawyers are preparing? A precautionary measure. He poured himself 2 fingers of scotch. One that can be withdrawn if we reach an understanding tonight. What kind of understanding? He took a measured sip before answering. You've put yourself in a difficult position, Natasha, removing confidential documents, making baseless accusations. They're not baseless. From where I sit, they look like the actions of a disgruntled employee who didn't get her way. His smile never reached his eyes. But I understand disappointment can cloud judgment. The condescension in his voice made my skin crawl, but I kept my expression neutral. Is that why you asked me here? To explain my clouded judgment? I asked you here because, despite everything, I still see your potential. He leaned forward. This situation can still be salvaged. How? You return all company materials in your possession, sign an agreement acknowledging your actions and accepting certain restrictions moving forward. He made it sound reasonable, even generous. In exchange, we drop the legal action and provide a severance package, 6 months' salary, plus benefits, and an NDA. Standard procedure in these situations. These situations. I repeated the words slowly. You mean when women challenge your authority? His expression flickered. This isn't about gender, Natasha. It's about professional conduct. Is that what you told Diana and Eliza and the others? The mention of those names hit their mark. Aston's jaw tightened momentarily before he regained his composure. I won't discuss other employees, past or present. Of course not. That would acknowledge the pattern. He set his glass down with deliberate care. What exactly do you hope to accomplish here? Even if your journalist friend publishes something, it becomes your word against the company's, a company with considerably more resources and credibility. It won't be just my word. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. If you're referring to Zuriel, he's already recanted his statements, admitted to misinterpreting certain communications. My stomach dropped. You're lying. Am I? He pulled out his phone, scrolled briefly, then turned it toward me. An email from Zuriel to HR, apologizing for sharing incomplete information that may have been misconstrued. The betrayal stung, even though I understood the pressure he must have been under. One source down, Aston continued. As for the others, Zlata's visa situation is precarious, isn't it? And I understand Diana's new freelance business is finally taking off. Would be a shame if potential clients heard she violated her NDA. The threat hung in the air between us. I thought of Zlata crying on the phone, Diana's warnings about what they'd done to her reputation. You really don't see it, do you? I said quietly. How you use power to silence people. I use power to protect what I've built. His voice hardened. Something you'd understand if you'd ever built anything of significance yourself. The words were calculated to wound, to remind me of my place. 5 days ago, they might have worked. I've built plenty, I said, meeting his gaze steadily, including a case against you that doesn't depend on any single person's testimony. Empty threats, Natasha. Not empty. I reached into my pocket, not for the recorder, but for my phone. I placed it on the table, screen up, showing the recording app running. And not threats. Aston stared at the phone, then at me, his expression darkening. You're recording this conversation? Just like I recorded our meeting on Friday. I leaned forward. New York is a one-party consent state, completely legal. Give me that phone. His voice was dangerously low. No. He reached across the table, but I was faster, sliding the phone back into my pocket. This meeting is over. He stood abruptly. Expect to hear from our attorneys first thing tomorrow. Before you go, I remained seated, voice steady despite my racing heart. You should know the Times has statements from 5 women detailing similar experiences with you and Pinnacle's leadership. The story runs tomorrow morning. You're bluffing. Check your email in an hour. Milton will reach out for comment as a professional courtesy. Something shifted in his expression, the first flicker of genuine uncertainty I'd seen. What do you want? He asked finally. What I've always wanted, the director position I earned, public acknowledgement of the pattern of discrimination, and no retaliation against anyone who spoke up. He laughed, a harsh sound in the quiet room. Impossible. Then I walk out that door, and tomorrow everyone knows exactly who you are. And who you are? His voice turned venomous. A vindictive, ambitious woman who couldn't handle rejection. I stood then, gathering my things with deliberate calm. That's where you're wrong, Aston. I handled rejection just fine. It's injustice I couldn't stomach. As I reached the door, he called after me. You'll never work in this industry again. You know that, right? I turned back one last time. Maybe not, but neither will you. The look on his face, rage mingled with the first real traces of fear, told me he finally believed me. Outside, the rain had stopped. The night air felt electric against my skin as I texted Milton. It's done. Run the story. Sleep never came. I sat at my kitchen table as night gradually yielded to dawn, my laptop open to the Times website, waiting. The apartment felt unnaturally quiet, as if the world itself were holding its breath. At 6:07 a.m., my phone rang. Milton. "It's live," he said without preamble. Top of the digital front page. I refreshed the screen. There it was. Systematic discrimination alleged at Pinnacle Corp. My name appeared in the second paragraph, alongside words like whistleblower and retaliation. "How are you feeling?" Milton asked. "I don't know yet." My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "Ask me tomorrow." After we hung up, I remained motionless, staring at the article. 5 women had gone on record, 3 anonymously, 2 with names. Diana had changed her mind at the last minute, deciding that silence had cost her enough already. The story detailed a pattern spanning years: passed over promotions, strategic relocations, retaliatory actions. My phone began buzzing with notifications. Text messages, emails, LinkedIn requests, journalists seeking comments, former colleagues expressing shock or support. I silenced it, needing space to process. The intercom buzzed. "Jude. You shouldn't be alone right now," he said when I let him in, setting down coffee and bagels I hadn't asked for, but suddenly desperately needed. "Have you seen it?" I asked. "Of course." He squeezed my shoulder. "You did it, Nat." "Did what, exactly?" I sank onto the couch. "Ended my career? Started a legal battle I can't afford?" "Told the truth." He sat beside me. "Everything else is just consequences." My phone rang again, Zuriel this time. I hesitated, then answered on speaker. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "They threatened my kids, Natasha, my daughter's college acceptance." "I understand," and I did. The email to HR? Written with their attorney watching over my shoulder. His voice was strained. "But I want you to know, I've resigned this morning, effective immediately." "Zuriel, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did." Something had shifted in his tone. Relief, perhaps. "I've already received 2 calls from firms wanting to discuss opportunities. Turns out having principles is marketable." After we hung up, Jude studied me. "You realize what's happening, right? The story's spreading. People are choosing sides." My phone confirmed it. The article was being shared across social media, comment sections filling with similar stories from other companies, other industries. "It's not about sides," I said finally. "It's about patterns. Once you see them, you can't unsee them." The day unfolded in a blur of communications. Charlotte sent a company-wide email announcing Aston's temporary leave of absence, pending an internal investigation. PR released a statement expressing shock at the allegations and commitment to a thorough review. Standard corporate damage control. By afternoon, I'd heard from 3 law firms offering to represent me pro bono against Pinnacle's inevitable lawsuit. 2 competing companies had left messages about potential opportunities. A women's professional organization wanted me to speak at their conference. "Your phone hasn't stopped," Jude observed as evening approached. "Maybe this won't be the career suicide you feared." Maybe not. But something still felt unresolved. "I need to go somewhere." "Want company?" I shook my head. "This one's solo." The Pinnacle building looked different in twilight, less imposing somehow. Security would have my access revoked by now, but I wasn't there to go inside. I stood across the street watching employees exit, wondering which ones had read the article, which ones were discussing it in hushed tones by the coffee machine. "I thought I might find you here." I turned to find Zlata beside me, her expression unreadable. "Zlata, I'm so sorry about what happened." "Don't be," she cut me off. "I quit this morning." "Your visa is being sponsored by Meridian Group." A small smile. "They called after the article went live. Apparently, they're creating a new diversity initiative and wanted someone with demonstrated ethical backbone. Relief flooded through me. That's wonderful. It is. She turned to face the building. But that's not why I'm here. Why are you here? Same reason as you, I think. She nodded toward the entrance where a familiar figure was emerging. Charlotte, looking considerably less composed than usual, flanked by two men carrying boxes of her belongings. Board emergency session this afternoon. Zlata explained. Charlotte's out. So is the head of legal. They're calling it leadership restructuring. We watched in silence as Charlotte climbed into a waiting car. It won't fix everything, I said quietly. No. Zlata's shoulder brushed against mine. But it's a start. As we stood there, my phone buzzed with an email. Board of Directors at Pinnacle, requesting a meeting tomorrow to discuss organizational improvements and my potential role in future leadership. I showed it to Zlata, who raised an eyebrow. Are you going? The question gave me pause. A week ago, I would have said yes immediately, desperate for validation, for the recognition I'd earned. Now, I don't know. I put the phone away. I have other meetings tomorrow. With who? Diana and the others. Something had crystallized inside me during these past days, a purpose clearer than any corporate title. We're discussing next steps. Next steps? This was never just about Pinnacle. I turned away from the building, no longer needing to watch its lights. It's about changing the patterns, everywhere. As we walked away, Zlata glanced back once. Aren't you worried about what happens next? The lawsuits? The backlash? Terrified. I smiled, surprising myself with how genuine it felt. But I'd rather be scared and moving forward than safe and standing still. The city stretched before us, full of buildings just like Pinnacle, full of stories just like mine. The thought no longer filled me with dread, but with a strange, fierce determination. They never expected us to compare notes, I said, more to myself than to Zlata. That was their first mistake. And their last, she added, falling into step beside me. The evening air felt different somehow, charged with possibility rather than threat. I'd lost something these past days, security perhaps, or illusions. But I'd found something too, something I hadn't even known I was looking for. My voice, and I wasn't done using it.